The story begins with a hero battling the Demon King in another world and ultimately defeating him. With peace restored across the continent, the hero is celebrated and praised by the public. Yet, what brings him the most joy is the realization that he can finally return to his original world. Suddenly, a deity appears before him, summoning him for a conversation. She takes the form of a majestic elf and compliments the hero on his achievement, noting that, once again, he chose to save the world. The hero responds with mild frustration, saying that every time he encounters her, it's always about choices. Because of the resets, he always has to start from scratch, leaving him with no real option but to save the world each time. He then asks if she truly intends to send him back to his original world. The deity confirms she will. The hero, however, calls her out, accusing her of kidnapping him from another dimension and making him work tirelessly for 20 years. He then questions whether she plans to offer any form of compensation, perhaps allowing him to retain his memories or granting him some magic. The deity explains that time in his home dimension was frozen while he was in the other world. As a result, he hasn't lost any time. Left with no real argument, the hero sighs and tells her to just hurry up and send him back. The deity assures him that she will reward him for his time and effort, but he won't remember the reward himself. Suddenly, a light glows from a fragment of the deity, and she reveals that she has gifted him a piece of her power. She explains that, depending on the choices he makes, the flow of the dimension will shift, and the world will bend according to his will. The hero, still skeptical, asks for at least a hint. The deity immediately refuses. Frustrated, the hero complains that she always says no. Once more, he pleads with her to at least let him keep his memories. The deity stays silent and, with a gentle push of her finger, teleports him away. As the hero begins to fade, he shouts for her to wait, insisting he still wants to negotiate. But a bright light surrounds him, and as he vanishes, the deity says she will continue to observe his journey, from the place it began to the world that will determine his fate. The hero starts falling from a great height, enveloped in white light. His eyes close instinctively. When he opens them, he finds himself in the body of a young boy. The memories of his previous life are gone. He yawns and stretches, strangely refreshed. Checking his phone, he sees numerous urgent messages from his manager. The boy's name is Julian. Realizing he's late for work, Julian rushes to the store, where he's immediately scolded. His manager warns him that she'll have to fire him if his tardiness continues. Bowing his head, Julian apologizes, silently wishing he could experience being rich, just for one day. He wonders how his life ended up so broken. He resumes working, but the burden of overdue rent and bills weighs heavily on him. Even 2 or 3 part-time jobs won't be enough to cover his expenses, and he's on the verge of being fired. Then, Julian wishes, if only he had awakened his abilities. At that moment, a mysterious pop-up appears before his eyes. Unique trait skill, Master, activated. Julian is stunned. In this world, awakened individuals are known as users. It has been 5 years since augmented reality, resembling a fantasy novel, engulfed the real world. Strange fields continue to emerge across the globe, bringing with them powerful new resources. Users are granted the ability to conquer and explore these monster-infested zones. Even low-level tasks inside a field can earn money, which is why so many dream of becoming users. Though it requires stepping into the unknown, the potential rewards far outweigh the risks. And now, Julian has taken his first step into that extraordinary world. But not all users become wealthy. While some awaken with powerful, high-grade unique traits from the very beginning, others are not as fortunate. At the pinnacle of this world stands one individual, ranked number 1, the very first user to ever reach level 70. And that guy name is Al. And he possesses an SS-grade unique trait known as Dragon Speech. One day, Al uploaded a video to his personal channel, and it instantly went viral. Viewers, drawn in by curiosity, couldn't take their eyes off it. In the video, Al raises his wand and releases a brilliant surge of energy, casting a spell so powerful it stuns everyone watching. A light bursts from his wand, striking a monster with immense force. The spell is a mage's dream, something any fantasy reader would recognize and admire. Viewers were in awe. It was meteor magic, and not just any meteor spell, but a high-level SS-grade meteor ring. One student watching the video couldn't believe such a spell could be cast inside an A-grade field. Even monsters capable of leveling entire cities stood no chance. So, naturally, eliminating A-grade field monsters was a trivial task for this spell. At the end of the video, I'll reveal the name of the skill, SS-grade Meteor Ring. Then, with absolute confidence, he issued a challenge to the world. Exactly 1 week from today, if anyone can show me a spell more magnificent and powerful than this, I will gift them an artifact, the Elemental Ring. The Elemental Ring was legendary, an SS-grade artifact, the first and only one ever revealed to the public. A dream item coveted by every user with magic-based traits. Its value and prestige were beyond measure. Somewhere, 2 people were watching the video and scrolling through the comments. One of them, a girl, snapped her phone shut with an annoyed expression. The blue-haired guy next to her asked, "Why don't you like it? He's offering such an insane prize." She frowned and replied, "That's exactly the problem. Al knows no one can outdo him. He's basically saying he won't give it away because nothing in this world is better than an SS-grade skill." She continued, "And don't forget, he's the one who'll judge the entries. That makes it a trap. Judging magic is completely subjective. He has no intention of parting with that ring." Her frustration was clear, and her jealousy even clearer. Like many other users, she couldn't help but envy the overwhelming flex. Despite the controversy, the video exploded in popularity. It became a trending topic, spawning countless reaction videos, deep dive breakdowns, and a fair share of criticism. It felt like something out of a fantasy world, untouchable and unreachable. Or so people thought. The scene then shifts to Jian, now standing in an open field. With a subtle motion of his finger, he points, and suddenly, massive flaming circles appear in the sky. A meteor crashes down, tearing open the earth and leaving a huge crater. Jian gives a thumbs up and casually says, "AL's meteor rain really is amazing." He uploads his own video, showcasing what just happened. Not long after, his video begins gaining traction, fast. Comments pour in by the thousands. Within days, it's a sensation. And just like that, Al loses the bet. Upon awakening, most users are granted a single unique trait. These traits enhance the effectiveness of specific skills and are generally comparable to classes in video games. Some of the most well-known unique traits revealed to the world include Dragon's Speech, Miracle, Regeneration, and Lethal Strike. A user with Dragon's Speech, like Al, becomes a mage more powerful than a dragon. A user with Miracle becomes a healer reputed to revive even the dead. Regeneration allows a user to serve as an unbreakable tank, able to regrow limbs and continue fighting. A user with Lethal Strike becomes a warrior capable of eliminating virtually any enemy. However, little is known about a unique trait called Skill Master. Jian sits at his computer, researching unique traits. When evaluating a trait, the first thing people typically look at is the grade. The higher the grade, the stronger the effect and the more subtraits it may include, or at least, that's what the internet suggests. The user grade system ranges from F grade to SS grade. Unable to find much about his own trait, Jian opens his status window, only to discover that he possesses an unknown EX grade unique trait. At first glance, it seems like a cheat ability, but all of Jian's stats are at level 1, which disappoints him. High-grade traits are usually accompanied by stat boosts, and Jian can't understand how all his stats are stuck at 1, something even a regular person would struggle to achieve. Still, he tries to stay optimistic. At least he has a trait. Suddenly, a new system window appears, revealing more details. Skill Master, EX grade, allows use of all skills. Passive income, level 1, usable once every 24 hours, resets at midnight. Grants 10 to 100 SP upon use. Jian is confused. Why does he only have 2 skills? He soon learns that users can acquire more skills by using skill books. However, he still has no idea what SP, skill points, are, or whether Skill Master is actually a good trait. Then, a tutorial quest panel appears, instructing him to try copying a skill, which will activate the skill copy, EX grade, ability. If successful, he will receive 20 SP as a reward. The panel further explains. Skill Copy, Level 1. Allows copying of 1 skill per day, which disappears at midnight. Sample, Level 1. Restores 1 copy attempt daily and provides 500 SP. Jian is shocked. He's never heard of a tutorial quest appearing when a new user awakens. To copy a skill, however, he'll need to enter a field, and with level 1 stats, that would be a one-way ticket to an early grave. Just in case, he decides to browse skill videos instead. Eventually, he comes across a video of AL's SS grade meteor skill. A pop-up appears, providing detailed information. Meteor Rain, SS grade, summons 20 meteors over a wide area. Requires 120 magic and costs 1500 mana. Power increases by 50% if the user has an S grade or higher magic type trait. Next, the system displays a tutorial map linked to the quest. It can only be accessed once. Within the map, Jian's stats will be temporarily boosted by plus 999, and copied skills can only be used inside it. Then, a prompt appears. Would you like to copy this skill? To his astonishment, the system allows him to copy the skill just by watching the video. The scene shifts to Al, lounging in a luxurious room as he watches Jian's video on a large TV. A black-haired woman walks in and switches off the screen. Is giving away the elemental ring really that big of a deal? She asks. Al frowns. It hasn't even been a week, yet the skill has already been copied. What are the odds of that? There are plenty of similar-looking skills, she replies. But Al shakes his head. That was the exact same SS grade skill. Same name. Same effect. She pushes back. There's no proof it's SS grade. It might just look similar. Besides, there's no field found with that level of destruction. Al, however, remains confident. That was the real thing. He instructs her to prepare the winner's card and the elemental ring, but warns her to keep her distance for now. The winner might still be cautious. I hope I can become friends with them in the future. Meanwhile, Jian is working a shift at the convenience store. He checks his phone and sees that his video has gone viral. A system pop-up appears. Video recording completed. Engrossed in the moment, Jian doesn't notice anything around him. A little girl approaches the counter and tugs on his sleeve. Do you sell fried pink jelly? But Jian is too deep in thought. His face was blurred in the video, and no one knows he's the winner. The girl keeps trying to get his attention, but he's too distracted by everything that's just unfolded. All Jian can think about is that if he becomes stronger, there might be no trait more overpowered than the SS grade meteor ring. But suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted by a deep, intimidating voice. The little girl's father, speaking sternly, tells Jian that his daughter is asking whether the store sells fried pink jelly. Startled, Jian quickly replies that they do, and assures the man that he'll bring it right away. Afterwards, Jian rests his head on the counter, sighing. He thinks to himself that there's no way Al will give away his SS grade artifact so easily. But if, by some miracle, Al truly honors the challenge, then Jian could earn enough money to never work again, and perhaps even become as powerful as Al, with the entire world watching him. He recalls how unthinkable that dream would have been just days ago. Standing up and yawning, Jian feels an odd sense of confidence, like he can take on anything. But just then, a message notification pops up. It's from Al. I admit defeat. The elemental ring now belongs to the winner. The comment section on the video quickly floods with praise, filled with remarks like, Al always keeps his word. Soon after, Jian is visited by Al's assistant, Li Suyan, who arrives to personally deliver the elemental ring. Jian's jaw drops in disbelief. She then escorts him home by car, informing him that Al would like to meet him in person someday. Once back at home, Jian lies down on his bed, staring at the ring in his hand. A system panel pops up, displaying its attributes. Elemental ring. Plus 30 magic. Plus 300 mana. Plus 10% mana regeneration. Plus 20% skill power. Minus 10% mana cost for skills. Plus 2% mana recovery per defeated enemy. Bonus. If the user has an SS grade unique trait, plus 10 additional magic. As Jian reads the unbelievable stats, he suddenly jumps up, exclaiming that his magic has increased by 40. He should head to the field immediately. Excited, he opens his status window, only to see that all his base stats are still at level 1. Disappointment hits. With such low stats, going into the field is impossible without proper armor, but Jian doesn't have the money for that. He gets up and moves to his computer, thinking maybe the views from his video could earn him some income. But then he hesitates. Channel verification would reveal his identity, and he's not ready for that yet. He starts brainstorming alternative ways to get a stat boost. While researching online, he stumbles upon an idea: healing skills. In the field, emergency healing near the entrance can earn hundreds of thousands. While some people look down on healers, the reality is that no one would even step foot into the field without those who offer healing at the gate. Determined, Jian decides to sell healing services. Even just one customer a day would be life-changing. The next day, he heads to the entrance of a D-grade field and sets up, waiting patiently for a single customer. All the good spots are already taken, so he makes do with the only spot he can find. Bored, he starts thinking that next time he should bring something to pass the time, and begins scrolling through his phone. Suddenly, a man appears, carrying an injured girl in his arms. Jian is initially relieved that he won't have to enter the field himself to make money. But then, the man stops right in front of him, with a terrifying expression on his face. Jian freezes, heart pounding. The man holding the injured woman tells Jian to get his skill ready, which immediately irritates Jian. He feels as though the man is talking down to him. To Jian, it's the same cliché scenario where someone treats him like a convenience store clerk, demanding service without respect. It frustrates him even more because, while his ability may just be a copied skill, it's still a C-grade healing skill with premium effects. Just as Jian is about to snap back in anger, the man suddenly speaks again, this time offering 20 million won up front. Hearing that, Jian's attitude instantly shifts. He calms down, nods professionally, and instructs the man to lay the woman down carefully. The woman's arm is severely injured. He urges Jian to hurry and begin healing. Jian is horrified. It's his first time witnessing such a gruesome injury in person. He trembles with doubt, unsure if his skill will even work, but tells himself he has no choice but to pull it off. He extends his hand toward the woman and activates his C-grade skill, Light of Recovery. After successfully healing her arm, Jian returns home utterly exhausted. The man had asked him to heal the woman 3 times. Without the elemental ring, Jian would have been in serious trouble. He wonders what kind of battle could leave someone with injuries that severe. Despite his fatigue, Jian wears a smug expression, thinking to himself, like a satisfied, wealthy man, that he can finally quit his part-time job at the convenience store. He begins fantasizing about what to do with his newfound wealth: investments, stocks, crypto. Opening the lid of a cup of ice cream, he reminds himself to earn as much SP as possible. Suddenly, a new tutorial quest appears. It instructs Jian to upgrade his subtrait, passive income, which is considered one of the primary ways a skill master accumulates SP. Jian learns that traits can be leveled up by spending SP. Upgrading passive income to level 2 costs 100 SP, but also rewards him with 100 SP, essentially making it a free upgrade. Even better, it unlocks a new subtrait. Motivated, Jian commits to completing the quest. He opens his SP window and checks his balance, 70 SP. Since passive income gives him 10 SP per day, he calculates that he'll only need to wait 3 more days to reach 100 SP. Now he wonders what to do in the meantime. Just then, there's a knock at the door. Room service has arrived with the gourmet meal he ordered. Jian grins with satisfaction, excited for the high-quality food, and heads to open the door. As he eats, he begins researching new skills to copy. The skills he's studying are mostly rare and borderline extinct. Even if he manages to copy them, the skill will disappear at midnight, so he realizes he'll need to access the footage anytime he wants. He silently thanks Al for openly showcasing such a powerful S-grade skill. While browsing, Jian wonders whether he'll eventually be able to use copied skills permanently by leveling up further. To stay organized, he decides to create a playlist of skills for quick access. He adds body hardening, teleportation, and several other skills he finds useful and, frankly, pretty cool. After finishing all the food, Jian finds himself feeling bloated. He's stuffed and can't eat another bite. He has also officially registered as a healer with the User Association. Lying on his bed with a full stomach, he begins to fantasize about how much his value will skyrocket once he starts using healing magic, buff skills, and all the powerful abilities in the playlist he's curated. Lost in daydreams, Jian imagines how amazing it would be if a beautiful woman were to send him a love call. To his surprise, the fantasy nearly comes true. While waiting at his usual spot to offer healing services, Jian is approached by none other than the gorgeous black-haired woman he had seen before. She thanks him sincerely for saving her the other day. Jian, completely caught off guard, admits that he doesn't remember her, remarking that she's way too pretty for someone like him to have any connection with. The woman then explains that a few days ago, her brother came to Jian for emergency treatment. Realization dawns on Jian. He remembers the man, but he's surprised. He had assumed she was the man's girlfriend, given how much he had paid for the healing. But no, she's his sister. With a warm, almost bashful smile, she thanks Jian again, saying that without him, she might not have survived. She then asks, "Are you in a party?" Jian replies that he's not. "Are you in a guild?" she asks next. Again, he shakes his head. "Nope, not even ranked." Her eyes light up. "Perfect. Our party needs a temporary healer." Jian hesitates. Despite the tempting offer, he declines politely, explaining that he's not ready to enter the field just yet. Undeterred, she smiles and asks if he has some free time. She invites him for a cup of tea and a chat. Before leaving, she asks for his number, saying she'll contact him later. Her confident, elegant aura overwhelms Jian. He nervously agrees to help her someday. But before he can say anything more, a loud scream pierces the air. A nearby user has been injured in the field. They need a healer who can cure status effects. Jian rushes over, quickly casts a healing spell, and receives payment for his service. He turns to the black-haired woman with tears welling in his eyes. "I'm sorry," he says, crying. "My level is just too low for party play." She laughs softly, though her smile seems slightly forced, and assures him, "It's fine. Our party includes an S-rank tank and an S-grade mage. We'll protect you." Without responding, Jian hurriedly packs his things and takes off running, continuing to apologize as he disappears into the distance. He's terrified of entering the field, especially after seeing that even someone as strong as her barely made it out of a D-grade zone alive. As he runs, Jian sobs quietly, wondering when he'll finally be strong enough to join a party with someone like her. But deep down, he makes a silent vow. He'll rack up enough money and SP to become a golden spoon mage and earn a place in a world he's still far from ready to face. Jian enjoys the view and luxury of living in a grand hotel, and finally, the big day arrives. As he checks his smartphone, a system pop-up suddenly appears, revealing that he has gained 10 SP from his passive income skill, which is still at level 1. Having finally collected enough SP, Jian decides to upgrade passive income from level 1 to level 2. The pop-up informs him that 100 SP has been deducted, and his subtrait under the unique trait has successfully leveled up. Now, instead of earning 10 SP every 24 hours, Jian will receive 50 SP, a 5-fold increase. He's thrilled, especially because the level-up cost was fully refunded as a quest reward, making the upgrade essentially free. Excited, Jian checks the full reward details. He gains 100 SP, and a second subtrait is unlocked. The new ability is called Trait Imbuement, level 1. This trait randomly assigns a unique trait to each skill he copies. In this world, a unique trait defines a user's combat style. While anyone can learn skills by reading skill books, the effectiveness of those skills varies significantly based on the user's unique trait. For instance, if a user with a fire-based trait uses an ice spell, the result may be underwhelming. But that same fire-based user casting a fire spell, the power is exponentially stronger. This is the natural weakness of skill copying. Copied skills are typically weaker than when used by their original owner. That is, except for Meteor, where Jian managed to put on quite the show. Now realizing that he can also copy the unique traits of skills, Jian is both excited and anxious, since the trait assignment is random. Still, his own skill set has improved significantly, and he's eager to test things out. After some consideration, Jian gives up on selling heals and decides to complete another tutorial quest, which requires him to defeat a monster using a copied skill. Completing this quest will grant him 200 SP and unlock another EX-grade subtrait. This makes Jian suspicious. It feels like someone is watching and assigning him quests in real time. For hunting, he decides to use a fireball skill. Since it's a low-grade ability, he doesn't expect anything extraordinary. He copies an E-grade fireball skill, which allows him to summon a fireball that can be thrown within a 20-meter radius. The skill requires 10 magic and 70 mana to activate. It also comes with a unique trait, Ignition, F-grade, a fire-type trait that causes the target to burn for 60 seconds on contact. The oddly specific quest instructions and trait combinations continue to raise Jian's suspicions. The next day, Jian heads to the entrance of Daegwaliang Sheep Ranch, a known dungeon area. The gate is bustling with other users, and Jian, dressed in a long gown, stands at the boundary between the field and the real world. He's brought all the gear he could afford with his limited funds and convinces himself that he's ready. With a determined heart, Jian steps into the dungeon to begin his first real hunt. Shortly afterward, the internet erupts with buzz. Comments flood in, talking about a crazy guy who took down dozens of monsters using fireballs in the field. The spectacle draws attention from several curious guild owners who try to recruit him. However, he refuses, claiming it's not because he was called a crazy guy, but for other reasons. That crazy guy is, in fact, Jian. He confidently confirms that the nickname isn't what made him decline the offers. Then, striking a handsome guy pose, he smugly remarks that he even turned down a scouting offer from a beautiful S-tier woman. Jian tries to recall whether he really laughed that weirdly while hunting. All he can remember is spamming fireballs and then letting out an awkward laugh, but now he remembers it clearly and immediately regrets it. He figures he was just too happy. The monsters were dropping so easily. But now, with all 20 monsters defeated, Jian has completed his quest. He earns 20 SP and unlocks the skill copy, EX grade, ability as a reward. This new upgrade reduces the mana cost of copied skills by 10%. Jian had been planning to stop because he was nearly out of mana, but thanks to the 10% reduction from the quest reward, he manages to keep hunting a little longer. While browsing the internet later, Jian stumbles upon a post about the Shadow Bear Ray boss raid. To participate and receive a reward, users must be level 15 or below. Jian, however, is only level 5, yet he managed to defeat the boss thanks to his gear. He confirms what he already suspected: gear makes all the difference. Because of it, he was able to spam fireballs almost non-stop. Then, out of nowhere, Jian remembers Al and quietly pays his respects to him. A few days ago, a party had been fighting a powerful boss monster. Jian suddenly receives another tutorial quest, this time to hunt a field monster in exchange for a 500 SP reward. While the other users struggle against the boss, Jian launches a surprise fireball attack, shocking everyone. With ease, he continues bombarding the boss with fire magic. Eventually, the boss collapses, leading the party to believe it's defeated. But then, the boss rises again and lets out a deafening roar. It unleashes its A-grade special skill, Shadow Bear's Roar, which drastically lowers the stats of all nearby enemies. -3 to all stats, and -2 to strength, agility, and endurance. The party leader quickly realizes what's happening and turns to assess his team's condition, only to find that everyone is trembling in fear, unable to even hold their weapons. Just as the boss charges, the leader barely manages to block the attack with his sword. Everyone is affected. Everyone, except Jian. Unexpectedly, he receives an additional tutorial quest. The objective? Copy the boss monster's special skill. Thanks to the quest, Jian is granted a free copy attempt and the chance to unlock a new unique trait, along with a 200 SP reward. The skill in question, Shadow Bear's Roar, A-grade, has the following effect. If the user's HP drops below 50% within 60 seconds, it triggers a roar that decreases the stats of all creatures within a 30-meter radius. If the target's stats are lower than the caster gains +3 to all stats for every 10 affected creatures. Seeing how overpowered it is, and copies the skill. It's also imbued with a new unique trait, Oblivion, F-grade, which can delete a random sub-option from the skill. Even more surprising, Jian can use the skill without any mana cost or restriction. Meanwhile, the rest of the party is still getting overwhelmed by the boss monster. Jian decides not to waste any time. He'll use the copied skill before it disappears at midnight. Everyone on the team is shocked when the boss monster activates its skill a second time, reducing their stats even further. Meanwhile, Jian successfully copies the boss's skill and immediately uses it to his advantage. His strength, agility, magic, and vitality stats each increase by 9 points. With newfound confidence, Jian steps forward toward the boss monster. He raises his hand, charging a powerful magical attack, and launches a massive fireball that kills the boss in a single blow. System windows appear in rapid succession. He levels up, completes both the field monster quest and the tutorial quest, and earns a total of 700 SP as a reward. Joy floods over him. This was his first boss kill, and it was flawless. The team, overwhelmed with relief, heads off to celebrate their victory, still shaken by how close they came to death. In that moment, Jian gets a strange glimpse of a memory, something from a past life. The scene feels familiar, but he can't recall exactly what it is. As he tries to focus, another system window appears, informing him that he is absorbing the obsidian bear's soul, and that his strength has increased by 1 point. He stares at his hands, feeling raw power surge through his body. Shocked by the strength of the boss monster, Jian reflects on something he once heard. A field boss is usually at least 10 levels stronger than the field itself. Attempting to defeat one with a higher level player, someone who exceeds the field's level cap, nullifying all potential loot. But thanks to the flawed contribution system, which doesn't reward items to high-level players who dominate fights, Jian, despite being lower level, was able to collect both the soul and the loot. In the end, most players go to fields and hunt bosses for one reason: item drops. Boss loot is worth a fortune. Each item can sell for hundreds of thousands. It's a gold mine, especially for beginners. Jian is ecstatic to discover that his strength stat has now permanently increased to 2. Two of his team members walk over to personally thank him for saving their lives earlier. They tell him that the MVPs of the fight were their leader and Jian, the mage. They express sincere gratitude. They had been on the verge of death, but Jian's fire magic was powerful enough to one-shot the boss. The team leader then reveals the boss item drop: pitch black dragon gauntlets. The gear provides a significant stat boost and comes with an additional trait. When the user's health falls below 30%, Berserk mode activates, boosting all stats by 2 points. While the gauntlets are powerful, they come with a high-risk, high-reward mechanic. The wearer must fight while dangerously low on health. The team agrees to split the items and materials fairly through the player association. Suddenly, a blond man appears out of nowhere, a sly grin on his face. He offers to buy all of the boss drop items for 90% of their appraised value in cash. The team is stunned. They immediately recognize him as one of the elusive boss item hunters, individuals who show up out of nowhere, like ghosts, whenever a boss is defeated. They offer large sums of money in exchange for the drops, hoping to make deals before items hit the open market. Jian, however, remains cautious. He's skeptical of these people. He doesn't trust their intentions or understand what they're really after. However, Jian quickly changes his mind once he sees the cash. Suddenly, he doesn't care what the boss item hunters are up to. He accepts his share of the money, but his excitement quickly fades when he visits an armory shop and discovers that the armor he wants costs 63 million won, while he only has 10 million. Discouraged, he sits by the side of the road with a sign, once again offering his healing services. He wants to keep hunting, but he's not ready just yet, especially since the copied boss skills disappear at midnight. Even the obsidian bear's roar, which he's allowed to keep, requires him to drop below 50% HP to activate. It's far too risky for his liking. Still, he figures he can at least have some fun using the copied skill in another field before it expires. With some free time and no customers stopping by, he decides to finally check and spend the SP points he's been saving. If he wants to go for a fantasy-style build, he'd need to follow the path of a swordsman and raise his strength stat, but that carries its own risks. With no better option, he chooses to boost his magic stat, raising it by 7 points, from 41 to 48. Just as he's about to spend more SP, a tutorial quest window appears. It offers 300 SP for completing a daily objective. Complete one quest every day. Today's quest, skill copy 2 times. Curious, Jian wonders what will happen if he copies the same skill twice. He tries it with Healing Light. The first copy gives the expected effects. When he tries to copy it again, the system alerts him that the skill is already copied but asks if he'd like to copy it as a new skill. Jian clicks yes. He stares in disbelief. He's hit the jackpot. Excited, he quickly changes the text on his sign, adding the new feature to his healing service. Healing plus EXP buff, 5%, for 5 hours. Only 1 million. He shouts his offer at the top of his lungs. catching the attention of nearby passersby. A crowd begins to gather, but they're skeptical. No one has ever heard of an EXP buff from a healer, and many worry that Jian might be a scammer who'll take the money and run. Despite his persistent promotion, no one steps forward. Until a girl wearing a scarf approaches. She says, "It's been a while. Still not interested in hunting with me?" Jian freezes. It's her, Hyaji, the beautiful woman he met earlier. As always, Jian is momentarily blinded by Hyaji's beauty. He awkwardly tells her that he's currently open for business only, though it's painfully obvious his business is failing. Seeing this, Hyaji kindly offers to be his first customer. He gratefully accepts. Jian casts Healing Light and grants her the 5% EXP buff. In return, she hands him her business card and tells him to call her later. They're in need of a skilled healer like him. Before leaving, she turns to the crowd and shouts confidently that Jian is trustworthy and his EXP buff is real. The crowd lights up with excitement after seeing Hyaji receive the buff. Like a pack of hungry wolves, they rush toward Jian, waving money in hopes of getting the same benefit. Overwhelmed yet thrilled, Jian silently thanks Hyaji, feeling deeply indebted to her. "Form a line," he calls out. "I'll cast the healing as soon as my mana recovers." Meanwhile, Hyaji's brother questions her, asking why she's so insistent on recruiting a newbie with no gear. She calmly explains that their party is already well-rounded. She handles burst damage, and he is a solid tank. But they're missing one critical role, a healer. And Jian, she believes, might be the key. He may just be a beginner now, but his unheard-of abilities suggest he possesses a rare and potentially valuable trait. "He's just getting started," she tells her brother. "That's why we need to bring him in before someone else realizes his potential and takes him." Suddenly, a crowd of goblins appears, charging toward them. Without hesitation, Hyaji launches a fire-piercing attack, incinerating the entire group in one shot. She then adds with a smirk, "Who knows? Maybe he'll be a top-ranked player someday." Meanwhile, Jian finishes healing the crowd and finally returns to the armory shop to purchase the armor he had been eyeing. The set bonus grants him +2 to all stats. He feels genuinely satisfied. He earned this money on his own. But still, he can't shake the thought that passive income is even better. He upgrades his passive income trait and now earns 50 stat points and 200 SP automatically every day at midnight. The idea of earning resources by doing nothing at all excites and motivates him. SP will accumulate passively, even while he's idle. However, the next upgrades are costly. Bestowal, level 2, requires 2,000 SP. Daily Quest, level 2, costs 3,000 SP. Skill Copy, level 3, needs a staggering 4,000 SP. The total? 9,800 SP. At a rate of 200 SP per day, that means Jian will need to wait 49 days to hit his goal. Still, SP can also be earned through daily quests, and to make steady progress, Jian knows he must raise his stats and start grinding again. As he considers his options, people begin to recognize him. His reputation as a healer has spread quickly. Wanting to avoid unwanted attention, he puts on glasses and a hoodie, using a rope as a makeshift disguise. He then heads to the boss hunting field, but is immediately hit with a harsh realization. The field is located in a mudflat. It's the F-rank field, Garum Bay. The muddy terrain renders melee DPS and tank rolls nearly useless. He sighs to himself, thinking, the sheep ranch was so clean and beginner-friendly. Maybe that's why so many newly awakened users go there. Fortunately, there's no field level limit, which means he won't struggle to collect boss souls, as long as he's careful. He recalls that the level cap for F-rank fields is level 19, and that users can absorb up to 5 boss souls per rank. With that in mind, Jian prepares to get to work. The most important rule when going on a field boss raid is to always keep the numbers in mind, and to never blindly join recruitment posts in the community assuming it'll be an easy ride. Most experienced players strongly advise against it. But Jian, ignoring all the warnings, decides to go anyway. He figures it'll be just like last time, when they raided the Pitch Black Bear. Everything turned out fine then, so this should be no different. His optimism fades quickly when he sees his team members flirting with each other during prep. One of the players approaches him with clear disappointment after realizing that Jian is actually a guy. Apparently, this raid was organized as a group date. and Jian had been mistaken for a girl due to the reversal of his first and last name. Everyone pairs off, except Jian and the rejected player. The team leader gathers everyone and begins explaining the raid strategy. The Garambe boss is a mudflat crab that gets faster every time it's hit with a debuff. So, the leader instructs them to avoid using any debuff skills. The crab can even be triggered by self-inflicted debuffs, so they must defeat it while minimizing injuries. The leader explains that when too many debuffs stack, the crab gains increased stats and can activate a special skill. He proudly brags about having defeated the mudflat crab 8 times, assuring everyone that they don't need to worry. Jian suspects that the crab's real special skill is the ability to convert debuffs into stat buffs, meaning every debuff essentially makes it stronger. He realizes this fight may be more dangerous than he initially thought. To make matters worse, his teammates don't seem serious at all. The leader flirts with his date instead of focusing on the battle. Suddenly, he dashes toward some small clams, shouting for everyone to crush them all. Jian is baffled, frustrated that such minor monsters are being treated like threats. Out of nowhere, spiky tentacles burst from the ground. Despite having promised to protect the team, the leader immediately steps back in fear, leaving his earlier bravado behind. Then orders the team to kill as many monsters as possible. The archers react swiftly, taking down the tentacles with precise arrows, impressing Jian with their skill. Moments later, a massive crab claw erupts from the ground, pulling the remaining tentacles under. The mudflat crab has finally appeared. The leader tells everyone that the crab only moves side to side, so they should stay in its line of movement, moving only forward and backward to keep control of its path. Jian opens the monster status window and sees the crab's passive skill. For each debuff received, the crab gains +1 to all stats. If 5 or more debuffs are stacked, it receives +5 additional points to all stats. Jian is thrilled to uncover such a trait. This boss is far more strategic and dangerous than he imagined. The team scatters in fear when they realize the crab can change direction while continuing to move sideways. It relentlessly chases after them, attempting to catch anyone in its path. While the group tries to attack the crab and dodge its attacks, Jian's only focus is on how incredibly useful the boss's special skill is. The skill's description lists no conditions or duration, which means it's a permanent passive ability, one that increases stats as buffs or debuffs are applied to the user. The sheer idea makes Jian giddy with excitement, and he can't suppress his smile. Meanwhile, the team leader is shouting at the others to only use physical attacks and to avoid any debuffs. Yet Jian is annoyed. The so-called tank hasn't even moved yet. Jian recalls the leader's earlier warning about bleeding debuffs. If this continues, the crab's stats will skyrocket. He notices the ranged players attacking from a distance, and suddenly it all clicks. The leader's strategy is for the tank to absorb aggro, while the archers chip away at the crab's health from a safe range. That's why he recruited so many archers. But Jian knows, this is far too slow. Eventually, the leader steps forward and declares that it's his turn to attack. He orders his date, Hyoju, to buff him. She moves into position, casting buffs with exaggerated emotion. Jian cringes at the cheesy roleplay, but is shocked by the effectiveness of her power. She casts a Radiant SS tier buffing skill. Radiant Power, SS rank. Applies 4 random buffs to the target. 1 point per 50 mana used. Duration increases by 100% if the caster has an S rank or higher buff type unique trait. Applies only A rank or higher buffs if mana is over 150. When used on self, buff duration doubles and effects increase by 50%. Still mesmerized by her abilities, Jian thinks it's incredible that someone is using an SS rank buff in a place like this. Just days before the raid, Jian had visited the local armory shop. The shop assistant had asked if he was a streamer or content creator. He denied it, but she explained that many field adventurers now upload videos to UserTube and recommended an item, camera glasses. She walked him through the features, and Jian, intrigued, bought them, originally planning to record only boss skills. He never expected them to become so useful. He quietly records Hyoju's buffing skill for future use. Thinking to himself, he realizes that combining Radiant Power with the boss skill Change Resistance, which increases stats when buffs are applied, could make him unstoppable. Jian wonders why such a powerful buffer would be found in a casual raid like this. His curiosity grows, but so does his impatience. Before the leader can even begin his flashy attack, Jian fires a massive fireball at the mudflat crab and activates his new skill. The fireball explodes on impact, and the crab is instantly defeated. The boss monster is reduced to what looks like a 5-star roasted crab dish in mere seconds. In a desperate attempt to save face, the leader lunges at the already dead boss, swinging his sword wildly, pretending to contribute. Jian watches the scene unfold with disbelief and pity. A system window appears. You have acquired the boss skill, Change Resistance. With a satisfied grin, Jian thinks to himself, now all that's left is to go home and test Radiant Power and Change Resistance together. Jian tells the team it's time to head back home, but they stop him, praising how powerful his skills are. Even a few girls approach him, asking him out. He suddenly finds himself at the center of attention. The team leader, feeling jealous, scolds the group for getting distracted and insists they proceed with the item distribution as soon as possible. Turning to his date, the leader asks, "You're staying by my side, right?" But she replies, "Jian should get the bigger share. He did all the hard work." To the leader's dismay, the entire team agrees and decides to give Jian their shares. Meanwhile, a man in a black suit watches from a distance. He makes a call to his superior, reporting, "The Garam Bay boss didn't drop any items. I'll be moving to the next field." Back in the moment, Hyoju looks up at the sky and notices something strange. A peculiar atmospheric phenomenon is beginning to unfold. The next day, Jian is back at the hunting field, using his fire magic to hunt boars and complete his daily quest. As he finishes another round, he wonders, when will I finally get sampled to level 3? He's been testing out the new skills he recently acquired. Combining Change Resistance with Radiant Authority gives him an incredible buff, but the problem lies in the limitations of sample at level 2. He doesn't have enough copy attempts, and although his stats increase, he lacks a strong skill to take advantage of them. Level 3 sample is the only viable solution. He grumbles to himself about how difficult it is to farm SP, and how painful it is to rely solely on daily quests. If only the system would just give me a decent quest, he mutters. As if responding to his complaint, a system window suddenly appears. It's a tutorial quest. The message reads, "A main quest will now begin. Completing it will grant you 4,000 SP." Jian stares in surprise. What kind of quest would give that much SP? Suddenly, the sky darkens to a heavy gray. It's not just his area. The same phenomenon is reported across all of Korea. People everywhere look up with concern, unsure of what's about to happen. Another system window appears, this time in bright red. F-rank special field, Sky Island Kinal. Entry level, 1 to 39. Main quest, clear the F-rank special field. Reward, 10,000 SP, a subtrait upgrade selection ticket, and a random skill master reward box. Note, special fields are strictly monster territories. The more special fields appear, the faster Earth's field conversion progresses. Massive flying monsters begin to appear in the skies above Korea. The system message concludes with a chilling statement. Clearing this field is critical for the survival of Earth and humankind. All the news channels are focused on the same topic, the sudden appearance of the massive F-class special field, Sky Island Kinal, which has emerged above Seoul and the Gyeonggi province. The pillars of light seen in the sky are presumed to be portals connecting the ground to the floating island. The user association is currently under emergency control. Due to the appearance of Sky Island, all flights at Incheon and Gimpo airports have been suspended indefinitely. Residents in affected areas are already complaining about the lack of sunlight beneath the hovering landmass. Reports suggest that similar special fields are appearing in multiple locations across the world. In Japan, for example, a landmass nearly half the size of Korea has connected itself to Tokyo, and B-class monsters, some as high as level 70, are beginning to cross over. The situation is so dire that some are calling it the end of humanity, as level 70 monsters are considered near S-class threats. The entry level for the Tokyo field has been set between 41 and 70. A man in a suit is interviewed publicly. He explains that, based on the situation in other countries, special fields can be beneficial when handled properly. In their case, the user association works closely with the government, receiving full support to organize raids quickly. Now that enough data has been gathered, they plan to develop a strategy to clear Sky Island Kinal and will soon offer a bounty. The mention of a bounty catches Jian's attention. He starts looking for ways to earn SP in advance. His passive income won't get him very far. However, he remembers that completing the main quest grants several skill enhancements, mana cost reduction, additional sample copies, and a significant SP bonus. By adding the 14,000 SP from the quest to his current total, he'll have enough to level up all his subtraits once. Excited, Jian feels a sense of urgency. He wants to clear the field immediately. At the armory shop, the familiar waitress hands him a box he had previously ordered. Inside are mage accessories, a cursed mana ring, which grants plus 100 mana but reduces strength by 1, and a cursed mana bracelet, which gives another plus 100 mana at the cost of 1 agility. When worn together, they grant plus 200 mana but reduce stamina by 2. With these equipped, Jian's total mana reaches 1,500. Despite the stat penalties, it's his safest and most strategic option for now. He then asks about the cost of a D2D class armor set. The waitress responds, around 400 million won. Jian walks out immediately after hearing the price. He spent the last of his money on a body cam, which he believes will be more useful. Standing in front of one of the light pillars, the supposed portal to Sky Island Kinal, he pulls out his phone to check community reviews before stepping in. Most users strongly advise against entering, especially for melee classes. The monsters on Sky Island are primarily airborne, making it nearly impossible for tanks or close-range fighters to survive. Some posts claim even high-level users have been wiped out completely. Still, Jian believes they're exaggerating. It can't be that bad, he mutters, and steps into the pillar. He's instantly teleported to Sky Island. To his surprise, the scenery is breathtaking, and the monsters don't attack immediately. For a moment, he even considers sitting down to eat lunch. Suddenly, a scream pierces the sky. A flock of massive flying monsters then appears directly above Jian. He prepares his fireball spell, the only skill he has that's effective against airborne enemies. But the monsters ignore him and target other fighters nearby. Then he spots them, Hyaji and her brother. The brother shields the attacks while Hyaji launches a devastating firestorm spell, taking down all the monsters in one single strike. Jian is stunned by her power. I need to copy that skill, he thinks, already planning to pair it with fireball for a combo. Hyaji, catching her breath, comments, "It wasn't as tough as I expected. If only our team had a healer, I wouldn't be this badly injured." She sighs. "I really should have recruited Jian when I had the chance." Just then, a slime monster ambushes Jian. Startled, he yelps, making so much noise that Hyaji immediately notices him. She walks over and greets him with a smile. They help Jian get rid of the slime. With tears in his eyes, he thanks them and explains how expensive his boots are. Hyaji's brother looks at him with pity, clearly thinking Jian is pathetic. He doubts that Hyaji would go out of her way to recruit someone like him, but from her expression, it's obvious she's serious about bringing Jian into the party. She walks up to him and, in a flirty tone, says, "Meeting this many times isn't a coincidence. It's fate trying to bring us together." She grabs his arm and asks him to officially join her party. Jian gets annoyed. All he wanted to do today was go hunting. He tells her to let go, but she insists he joins. Reluctantly, he thinks to himself that he has no choice. He might as well accept. He decides that for his last sample copy, he should copy Light of Healing. But first, he needs to step away and find the skill on UserTube. "I need to use the bathroom," he says. "There are no bathrooms here," they reply. "It's urgent," he insists. Overwhelmed and embarrassed, feeling like he's already ruined his image, Jian steps aside to finish copying the skill. Just as he returns, the flying monsters reappear. This time, instead of launching themselves, they begin throwing massive boulders. It turns out they are capable of critical thinking, making them much harder to deal with. Hyaji's brother shields the group from the incoming boulders. Suddenly, a horde of rhino monsters charges at them. Before Jian can cast a spell, Hyaji unleashes a barrage of fire magic, fire rain, fire spears, and fire walls, wiping out the entire wave. Jian is stunned by her power. "Do all S-class users have that many skills at their disposal?" he asks. She nods. "Yep, all thanks to the skill book I bought." Just then, another monster lunges at them. Before Hyaji can react, Jian fires a massive fireball at it. This time, the spell is significantly stronger than usual, thanks to the random buffs from Radiant Authority. Amused, Hyaji smiles. How much mana do you have? Jian avoids giving a straight answer. He knows that, as someone labeled a healer, he needs to be more careful about revealing his full capabilities. Jian thinks to himself that, due to the random unique trait, the skill activated with far more power than he expected. A system window appeared, stating, Skill overcharged. Increases skill mana consumption by 100% and increases additional damage by 20%. Jian reflects that the increase in mana consumption is significantly higher than the gain in damage, making the trade-off questionable. Still, he reminds himself that even if healers are considered nobles, defensive and offensive skills are essential for leveling up efficiently. Hyaji turns to Jian and says, At least tell me, how much mana do you actually have? Jian replies vaguely, a decent amount. The system briefly shows his current mana, 1,408, a considerable number. But Jian thinks to himself, there's no harm in having a lot of mana. With this, I can still cast the same spell at least 13 more times. However, he reminds himself that he's currently playing the role of a healer, not a mage, so he needs to be cautious about overexposing his offensive capabilities. Meanwhile, Hyaji's brother watches Jian quietly, beginning to grow suspicious of him. Elsewhere on the island, other users continue fighting slimes. One of them, bored from dealing with small monsters, sighs, until a system window suddenly appears. The number of deceased life forms on Sky Island has reached the boss summoning threshold. The Lord of Sky Island awakens. A massive figure materializes in the sky, surrounded by multiple wings. The users look up, shocked. The boss resembles a biblical angel, majestic and terrifying. It begins to descend, and then launches its special attack. Sword of the Heavens. Summons one sword for every life form on the island. Damage increases with each sword. If the unique trait Sky Island is possessed, the number of swords is doubled. Jian stares at the boss's stats in disbelief. Millions of heavenly swords rain down from the sky. Though they survived the attack, everyone could not move because of the heavy debuffs. Even Hyaji's brother, who blocked the attack, falls to one knee. His health, attack power, and defense are all drastically reduced, and it looks like the debuff lasts for 10 minutes. Jian quickly casts Light of Healing to treat him. He checks the system window again. The boss is a level 59 entity named Kinal. Its unique trait is Sky Island, and it possesses the skills Sword of the Heavens and Speed Enhancement. Its base stats are Strength, 22, Agility, 39, Stamina, 28, Magic, 75. As Jian reads through the stats and abilities, only one thought comes to mind. We need to run. He suggests retreating, but then another system window pops up. Subquest received. Objective, eliminate Sky Island boss, Kinal. Reward, 5,000 SP and Kinal skill. Zhu Yun sits with his laptop, reading about the deadline concerning the Sky Island boss. It appeared yesterday at noon. The spawn condition is presumed to be related to the number of regular monster kills in the field, similar to other bosses. It immediately unleashed a wide area attack, causing massive casualties. The gruesome screenshots are from a user who was live streaming, though the streamer's current status is unknown. The comments show up, some cursing, some saying Kinal flung blades in all directions before vanishing. A survivor asks about the sword rain, warning that it's best not to even think about catching that guy. Another comment suddenly says he just appeared again. Zhu Yun plays a video in which people are pointing at the sky, shouting that Kinal has reappeared. Kinal emerges, surrounded by golden energy, its rays falling downward. Out of fear, people question if it's throwing swords again, but another realizes it's just rain. Suddenly, people start feeling weak, their swords becoming incredibly heavy. Someone shouts that it's another debuff. Small green monsters begin tearing through the area, confusion spreading as people realize something is wrong. A mantis-like creature appears and starts attacking people. The video ends there, leaving Zhu Yun in disbelief. After a moment of silence, he mutters that Kinal even has the ability to strengthen monsters, admitting it was smart to run away. He thinks about how he can't rely on spare lives since this isn't a game, but reality. Considering the debuff, He concludes that besides SP, he needs to raise his physical stats too. Suddenly, a beep from his phone startles him. Ju-Yun picks it up. It's an incoming call from Hyenji. At first, he doesn't process the name, but then he finally recognizes it, questioning when he even saved her number. He answers the phone. Hyenji asks if he's gone back to Sky Island since their last party play. He refuses, and, while scrolling through videos of monster attacks, says that he was already thinking he'd have to drop by again anyway. Before, he struggled because he couldn't grasp the boss's pattern. He adds that now they say, just like in Japan, the Sky Island monsters are leaving the island and descending into Seoul. Hyenji explains it's now a time attack and quickly gets to the point. A large-scale Kinal raid team has been formed. She asks Ju-Yun if he would like to join. After hearing everything, Ju-Yun stares at his phone in awe. A few days later, at Seoul Grand Park, inside a D-class swamp field, people gather together. Someone recognizes a blonde-haired guy as an A-class user, confirming they saw him on UserTube. A question pops up. Why are such big names in a D-class field when everyone here seems to be B-class or higher? Two men whisper to each other until one firmly replies that this is the Kinal raid team gathered for a preliminary meeting. In other words, the D-class field is just a warm-up for them. Ju-Yun stands among these great people, while others wonder how amazing a user must be to participate in such an elite group. Nervously, Ju-Yun questions whether he really belongs here. He even intentionally wore different clothes than when he was a mage, thinking it should be okay. Hyenji appears, waving and calling out to him. Ju-Yun finally breathes a sigh of relief, seeing someone familiar. Standing in front of her, he reminds her that the condition to be here was at least B-class and questions if it's okay for an F-class like him to join. He thinks about how he registered with the user association as an F-class healer to hide his identity. Frankly, Hyenji asks what kind of F-class healer uses a C-class healing skill. She adds that debuff removal is essential for this raid, so they are accepting people without conditions, telling him not to worry. The person beside Hyenji asks if it isn't about time for the raid leader to arrive. Footsteps echo, and Hyenji says he's here. The raid leader of the Kinal Conquest team, the SS-class warrior of Dehan's Rank 1 guild, Lee Haesung, arrives. As Lee reaches for his sword, he informs the group that before briefing them on defeating Kinal, it's important to check the individual abilities of each raider, starting with a warm-up. Hyenji calls it nice and clean, asking if she should go first to get revenge for last time. Ju-Yun, meanwhile, thinks the orders sound incredibly rude, but the fact that no one objects makes him realize how cool Lee is. In no time, monsters appear. Lee takes down the monsters with his sword while the others join in the fight. Watching him, Ju-Yun can't help but think that no matter how he looks at it, Lee is incredibly cool. Another thought crosses Ju-Yun's mind. Holding a sword with his current stats would be foolish. With his low base stats, he's barely surviving with the help of the elemental ring. He knows the magic route is the safest choice. Still, while watching Lee take down monsters, Ju-Yun feels something strange. He shouldn't have any experience holding a sword, but it feels oddly familiar to him. He backs off anyway, healing the wounds of a warrior. He gives up on the idea until he finds a way to sufficiently raise his physical stats, admitting that close-quarters combat is too dangerous. Hyenji continues fighting with her magic, while Ju-Yun sees her and Lee and realizes that with his own skills, it might be a waste to keep hiding them. For a moment, he envisions himself as Lee as a system screen appears, explaining the bloodstained battle. Absorbs the target's stats. The effect disappears within 5 minutes after the end of combat, and when possessing an S-class or higher combat type unique trait, additional stats are absorbed upon defeating 10 monsters. If strength is high enough, magic power increases by 10% of strength. If stamina is high enough, ability increases by 10% of stamina, as Lee takes down another monster. Ju-Yun watches and thinks he has discovered a crazy skill, one that instantly raises physical stats. Lee stands firm with his sword while monsters lay unmoved on the ground. As a leaf falls on water, the Seoul Grand Park Marshland field boss, the Poison Lizard King, comes into view. Roaring, it charges straight toward the warriors, who immediately recognize it. Lee steps forward, activating his limit break, leaning forward with his sword as the Monster King rushes him, its green eyes glowing. A screen appears, declaring that absorbing the Seoul field boss, Poison Lizard King C and Jade Beauty B has been registered in the boss skill list. Hyenji's brother stands beside him, saying he ended up clearing it like this, while Hyenji reminds him that she almost killed it entirely before. He quickly agrees. Ju-Yun asks if they still get rewards even without hunting. Hyenji explains that normally he wouldn't, but since he dispelled debuffs throughout the raid, that was judged as a contribution. Ju-Yun wonders how healers even level up, considering it the simplest and easiest job. After killing the Monster King, Lee declares that he'll give a final briefing and organize things before distributing the rewards. He explains that in past raids, mages gathered together to attack simultaneously, but it still hasn't been determined whether the defenses of strengthened monsters are specialized against magic or physical attacks. Ju-Yun doesn't seem to understand, but Lee continues, saying they will divide and deploy based on whether range damage dealers use magic or physical attacks. The screen shows the Catalyst B skill, describing how it amplifies effects against poisoned enemies and other conditions. Ju-Yun thinks the boss was killed instantly, so he didn't even get to see the skills, but still considers this one potentially useful. As he notes that this isn't what matters right now, the screen pops up again, declaring limit break. Attack power increases by 1 rank for 60 seconds along with other effects. Another skill unlocks, Blood Frenzy SS. Ju-Yun gets excited, thinking that Santa is moving around later than expected, but even handing out SS rank skills. As Lee mentions healers, Ju-Yun makes a strange face, causing Lee to wonder about his expression. With a bright smile, Ju-Yun thinks that since he's gotten everything he needed, he now just wants to go home quickly. A few days later, Kainal raids D1. Ju-Yun lays on his bed, exhausted. The screen shows SP at 4,000. He wonders when he'll finally collect it all, and thinks it looks like he'll have enough before Kainal's head falls. Daily E-rank quests keep popping up so often that he questions it, but also admits that consecutively getting E-ranks is incredibly lucky. He gets up, thinking that since the heavens are helping, he should level up the sample. Ju-Yun accepts the request to level up, skill copy EX, sub-trait level up, along with others. He thinks that originally, the goal was to buff attack power with brilliant authority and resistance to change, then unleash burst damage. But since Red Cloaked Santa gave him Blood Frenzy, 3 copy counts aren't enough. He reasons that if Blood Frenzy, brilliant authority, and resistance to change had an extra attack skill attached, it would create synergy beyond the original. Sitting surrounded by screens, he admits it would have been nice if he could save 4 skills, but using 3 is fine for now. Later, Ju-Yun faces a giant, fox-like monster and decides to test the attack buff. People in the chat discuss it. One asks if anyone remembers the psychopath. Another clarifies, the guy who went around blasting everything with fireballs in that F-rank field. He confirms, adding that the same person appeared in Gapyeong this time. Another joins in, saying his friend was there and described it as a total mess. A video uploads, showing the Gapyeong field mountain snake being destroyed by small attacks. People are startled, recognizing it as the field boss, admitting they aren't ready to face it yet. Another notices its aggro is locked on someone else. The giant snake boss is chasing Ju-Yun. The moment it lunges forward, Ju-Yun casts a deadly fireball. People watching wonder what kind of fireball that is, some doubting if this is really the same person from the F-rank field. As Ju-Yun runs, they question if he's even a mage, praising how fast his agility must be. The snake opens its jaws, almost attacking nearby people, but Ju-Yun unleashes a fireball from behind, drawing its attention back to him. He fires another, shouting for it to die, saying this should be enough. Whispers spread about a crazy guy taking down a field boss with chip damage. Elsewhere, a car stops. The secretary reports that the field inspection schedule is complete and that there is 1 hour and 24 minutes of free time until the next event. Inside the car, Al sits with his phone in hand, watching the same video of the psychopath taking down the mountain snake. The secretary asks if he's worried about this person. Al confirms, saying they are the one who received his precious ring. The secretary adds that it seems quite certain that the person is Ju-Yun. Al finds it interesting, replying that it hasn't been long since he gave him the elemental ring, and that items shouldn't affect agility or stamina stats. Yet this person is dodging attacks with small, precise movements, almost like someone skilled in combat for years. Al then asks his secretary about the movements of the Raider Guild. She replies that, as predicted, sightings are being reported near special fields. Al instructs her to keep a close eye on both the psychopath and the raiders. He adds that with so much attention on him, bugs will surely gather. As he walks forward, he quietly hopes they don't cause trouble for his friend. Elsewhere, a blonde-haired guy watches the video of Ju Yun, and an evil smile spreads across his face. Standing out in the dark, Ju Yun watches the video, calling the people crazy since he did the work, yet they are making the money. Questioning his portrait rights, he thinks that not even a speck of his face was shown. A sudden realization hits him. It would have been so much better if he had just uploaded it himself. He decides to verify his channel and upload the bodycam footage too, thinking he'll title it as Level 10 Beginner Mage Soloing E-Rank Field Boss Snake. He considers uploading the Kinal Raid video as well, assuming the views would skyrocket. That will require him to create a separate account so no one discovers he's the psychopath. He daydreams about hitting 1 million subscribers and getting the gold button. He wonders if he should upload a verification video, then brushes it off, realizing how is he supposed to gather stuff in pitch dark like this. A screen shows up, informing him about the daily quest B. He stares at it, saying he thought daily quests were only E or F rank. If he had checked the quest earlier, he wouldn't have had to come out at night, but he didn't expect to waste the whole day on just one snake. Ju Yun decides he might as well gather everything before the skills reset at midnight. As he's thinking, he notices a blue shining ball near a tree. Picking it up, the screen labels it as Special Field Essence, 1/10. Ju Yun realizes it doesn't drop from monsters, which means in this huge field, he has to run to every corner to find them. Frustrated, he admits that if this weren't B rank, he would have quit already. Suddenly, a giant bird charges from behind with insane speed. Ju Yun reacts just in time, and it crashes into the tree. Startled, he can't believe how he dodged that. His body moved on its own before he even thought about it. He wonders if it's the result of using Radiant Authority and Transformation Resistance together. He casts a fireball at the bird before it can recover and decides to think about the rest later. The explosion catches the attention of a nearby warrior, who realizes plenty of users are still hunting at this hour. 2 masked men stand beside him, asking about Kinal. The warrior says the scout team spotted him in the northwest. He adds that if they take down Kinal first, Lee Hai-sung will go home empty-handed, calling him a bastard, and the warrior admits he's getting excited already. His teammates ask what they'll do if other users jump into the raid. Smirking while putting on his mask, he declares they'll just kill them. The screen shows Ju Yun's special field monster kills. He's finally done, and the good thing is that essences are easier to spot than he expected. He thinks he can find them all before midnight. The screen appears again, notifying him that he has already completed the 1-hour survival in the field. He realizes he just needs to collect a little more, and he's done. Suddenly, arrows and fire erupt in the sky, attacking Kinal. Ju Yun is shocked, wondering what's happening since the raid was scheduled for tomorrow morning. A group of users are attacking Kinal as it flies in the sky, its wide white wings flapping as it retaliates with powerful attacks. Someone shouts for them to fire at its wings. Ju Yun watches, stressed. What should he do now? They're about to steal his boss. He judges the situation, realizing it's too late to call anyone. Then a thought hits him. The quest said to try attacking the F-rank special field and defeat Kinal, the master of Sky Island. He concludes that both the main and sub-quests only require the raid to be cleared. There's no condition about who to fight with or how much contribution he needs. He thinks, if I just land the final blow, then decides instead to sit back, relax, and enjoy the idea of free loot. Kinal's wing is damaged badly, and it crashes to the ground. The raid team rushes forward, shouting that it has fallen and now is the time to kill it. Kinal's eyes burn red as it rises, its sword pointed at the group. Another sword forms in its other hand as golden energy spreads, engulfing it. This is Kinal's Phase 3. The ground cracks as Kinal swings its swords, while users surround it. Ju Yun, amused, passes a comment on the spreading dust. Then he spots another essence in the grass and runs to pick it up, saying the mission is insanely easy. Meanwhile, Kinal's eyes blaze red as it swings its swords again, unleashing golden light that blasts the entire group. The users are thrown back, crashing near where Ju Yun is standing. They check on each other, one groaning that it hurts badly and urging the group to regroup fast. They notice Ju Yun lying there too, spaced out, and call him a punk. Ju Yun gets up, insisting that a mage can't just drop out like that, holding a mask in his hand, the mask of their team. The masked users order him to get his head straight, assuming he's one of them. Ju Yun, confused but quick to adapt, puts on the mask and follows. He thinks that as long as he doesn't get caught, he's golden. Behind a tree lies the body of a mage, and Ju Yun quietly thanks him. The screen shows, daily quest completed. Untitled random item stored in temporary inventory. Quest buff be applied. The leader of the team clashes into Kynal, and as they fight, a swirl of blue energy damages Kynal. The other team members wonder where that fireball is coming from. One points out that it wasn't here before and complains that while some are busting their efforts up close, a pure damage dealer is just standing back and benefiting from range. Ju Yun realizes he's in trouble. His firepower is way too strong because of the buff. If he doesn't use his skills, it'll look suspicious. He admits that if this weren't during combat, he would have been caught for sure. Kynal struggles with the attack, while Ju Yun thinks that beating this sturdy punching bag with his current spec is fun. At this point, he might as well ride it out and sweep all the rewards. The screen shows. Kynal has lost 10% HP, summon command triggered, summoning the monsters of Sky Island. When it happens, the summoned monsters receive a subordination boost. Kynal stands firm, his sword raised to the sky, golden lines spreading all over. The aura terrifies nearby monsters, scattering them, while people stand in awe. Two new users arrive. One asks if this is a raid, while the other reminds him that this isn't the scheduled raid time. The team members notice them and realize more people are starting to catch on. One of the newcomers steps forward, questioning what they're doing, only to be struck down instantly. After killing him, a masked man remarks that it'll be trouble if Lee finds out about this, and orders his guild mates to deal with outsiders too. With no hesitation, they begin attacking, taking down players without guilt. Ju Yun stares in shock, thinking, first they steal, and now they're even player killing. He admits he didn't expect this guild to be so ruthless and decides to run. Just as a masked man is about to kill another innocent player, Lee and his team arrive. Ju Yun panics, thinking he's definitely screwed. The masked leader mocks them, calling them losers and saying they aren't the raid party. He sneers, asking who they are to barge in and cause this mess. Lee steps forward, saying they're not just stealing the boss, but also killing innocent users. His expression darkens as he declares that people like this deserve to die here with no complaints. He leans in with his sword, calling out for them to perish. The masked leader pushes Ju Yun aside and orders him to wipe out Lee's group. Ju Yun stands frozen, confused about which side he's even on. Behind him, Kynal starts attacking again. Lee's team shouts in frustration that if someone else gets the last hit, all their effort will be for nothing. They call out to focus on eliminating the raid's healer first. Meanwhile, one masked player, surrounded by Mentis-like monsters, tries to strike another innocent user who begs for mercy, saying he isn't part of the raid. Ju Yun watches it all and thinks the only way to fix this chaos is to take down Kynal as soon as possible. But with the power split across the skirmish, their DPS is lacking. Lee's eyes glow red as he fights, while Ju Yun thinks there must be another way. Hyenji is fighting too when a masked attacker comes at her from behind, but a surge of blue energy knocks him away. Hyenji turns in confusion. Her brother asks what happened and if she's okay. She points at Ju Yun, still masked, and says the mage from the enemy team just killed his own guildmate to save her. Now targeted by both people and monsters, Ju Yun grits his teeth and says he just needs to hold on a little longer. He checks the time, midnight, activating skill copy. While Lee takes down the monsters, the screen flashes, Blood Combat SS. All stats increased by up to 20%. Lee pushes forward, fighting the monsters, but Ju Yun unleashes fireballs. Another screen shows 20 monsters killed. Lee stares in frustration as Ju Yun continues taking down the enemies. More notifications pop up, each one counting his kills. Ju Yun thinks that compared to resistance to change, which increases stats by a fixed amount, Blood Combat, which increases them by 2% with each fight, is way more overpowered. Finally, his fireball lands straight on Kynal. Ju Yun whispers, "Goodbye," as blue energy swallows the sky and surroundings. Kinal drops to his knees as users ask if they finally got it. But Ju-Yun watches as Kinal transforms again into its last phase. Its body is covered in armor, wielding a rod, looking stronger than ever. Kinal raises the rod and slams it hard into the ground. Golden energy spreads across the battlefield. Hyenji's brother deploys his projection shield, while Ju-Yun struggles to withstand the pressure. His mask begins to crack, and he realizes if it breaks now, he'll die for sure. Just as he's about to collapse, Hyenji's brother steps in front of him, shielding him, and firmly says, "You owe me now." Kinal stands firm, the ground beneath the group all cracked and ruined. Kinal notices Ju-Yun and Hyenji's brother. In no time, Ju-Yun gathers his energy as his mask falls slowly, and finally, he unleashes a fireball, giving Kinal no chance to react. The blast spreads dust all over, covering users' eyes, and one shouts, asking where Kinal is. As a result of the attack, Kinal drops to his knees. Glowing treasures and ornaments scatter around him. Lee questions if this is really the boss monster, then turns to the masked team leader. Smirking, he raises his sword and threatens the leader to get lost while he's still alive. The masked leader stares in frustration, thinking what a pain this is, then says that their image is still the MVP. Ju-Yun thinks about quickly finishing off the boss and retrieving the monster for himself. The screen suddenly appears, announcing that he will be transported to the tutorial field in 10 seconds to choose his reward. Feeling awkward, Ju-Yun runs forward, thinking that a dealer that strong is someone he doesn't recognize, yet oddly feels familiar and suspicious. He grabs the metal ornament and declares that everyone saw. It was him who took down Kinal. The masked leader recognizes him as the psycho from those videos. Ju-Yun grips the ornament tightly and insists that it's his. Lee and the masked leader rush toward him, ready to strike, only to find themselves suddenly seated next to each other. Lee realizes he felt no impact on his sword and shouts that Ju-Yun must be pulling some trick, and realizing they both got played. Grinding his teeth, the leader admits they've been totally scammed by Ju-Yun. For someone like him to steal the boss is beyond embarrassing. Ju-Yun is transported away as endless notifications flood his vision, surprising him with what seems like non-stop rewards. Then, a small angel appears before him, dressed in blue, with white hair and beautiful wings. She labels Ju-Yun a hero and introduces herself as Ego, his tutorial assistant. Ju-Yun stares in disbelief. Ego explains that since the main quest has been completed, she has arrived to guide him through the tutorial. Ju-Yun wonders in awe. He has never heard of a tutorial assistant before, nor seen anything like this online. He questions if this is some event exclusive to EX grade unique traits. Ego asks if they should start with receiving his quest rewards. Ju-Yun agrees. With a wave of her finger, a detailed trait upgrade token appears. She explains it is like a first job advancement. Ju-Yun repeats her words in confusion. Ego clarifies that it adds detailed aspects to his unique trait. He can choose one of his abilities and upgrade it further. The options appear, and Ego asks what he'll choose. Ju-Yun thinks that upgrading passive income to increase SP gain over time is good for the long term. But he realizes he's too weak right now. If the skill reset from the raid hadn't happened, defeating Kinal would have been impossible. He decides that increasing the number of usable skills is the best option. He tells Ego he'll pick samples under skill copy. The screen confirms the sample has been upgraded, now refilling 2 copies at midnight and 12 o'clock. Skill copy also has a chance to restore 1 copy automatically, and copied skills increase by 1 rank. Ju-Yun mutters that while the individual refill size went down, having 4 total per day is fine. Then his eyes widen, realizing he could copy 8 times a day if he gets lucky enough. Ego asks if he wants to check other unclaimed rewards. Ju-Yun nods. She shows him a flame burst sword, C, explaining it's from the daily quest random item box. Ju-Yun wonders why he always gets fire attribute weapons. Ego then presents another item, saying it's from the main quest reward, Skill Master Reward Box C. The screen shows bonus rewards. Ju-Yun has leveled up, defeated 2 field bosses, and killed 100 monsters. More rewards follow. Ego announces the next reward, an additional detailed trait. The screen reveals it's the 4th detailed trait of his unique traits, surpassing the Master level 1, which adds 1 random F option to copied skills. Zhu Yun says it's not bad, but what he's really after is the ornament Kynal left behind. The screen shows it's a cursed necklace from Kynal with insane stats. Zhu Yun marvels at how powerful it is, then wonders how strong the actual boss skill would be. The screen displays Skill Descent A. Effect: when HP drops below 10%, Kynal descends. All stats increase by 50%, all attacks gain the corruption effect, and mana fully restores. Duration: 10 minutes. Cooldown: 30 days. Zhu Yun stares in awe, recalling how divine Kynal was, and wonders if this was the final phase skill he witnessed. He thanks heaven that he managed to burst Kynal down before that activated. Otherwise, how could he have beaten a fallen angel Kynal after that transformation? He remarks it's basically a 30-day cooldown extra life, so he'll have to use it wisely. Next, Zhu Yun says that once he finally has 20,000 SP, he wants to upgrade the sample first. Before he can finish, more screens pop up one after another, showing level ups and SP usage. He admits it's investing in efficiency, adding that his trait is imbuing for stable growth. The system then displays the daily quest. Receive E-grade or higher quest daily at midnight. Zhu Yun raises his voice dramatically, calling it the daily quest reward for steady progress, while Ego cheers him on, calling him a great hero. He lays down on the glowing floor, relieved, thinking he's finally done, but double-checks if that's everything. Ego smiles and says this was just the reward collection. Now begins the real tutorial. She asks if he remembers the last sentence of the main quest. He recalls the words, "Ensure the survival of Earth and humanity, conquer the special field," and asks if that's what she means. Then, a sudden realization hits him. He's about to speak when Ego cuts him off, confirming with chilling words, "Your world will soon be destroyed by invaders from another dimension." Sky Island Kynal naturally disappeared after the boss was defeated. The citizens of the area reclaimed the clear skies once more. The gate connecting to Sky Island vanished, but now a space distortion phenomenon is occurring, and they can't rule out the possibility of the field mutating again. Lee stands in front of the media, explaining that the situation might have already been leaked through videos. He says they suffered setbacks due to a group that maliciously stole the boss. Lee adds that despite all this, the Kynal raid was successfully completed, and immediately afterward the unidentified individuals fled. A reporter asks about the reward for the special field boss. Lee answers that he confirmed all stats increased. Another question is raised about the boss items. In frustration, Lee turns around and says that is all. Meanwhile, Hyunji makes a call while her brother works out, saying that the guy will be dead if he gets caught by Lee. The call doesn't connect and goes to voicemail. Hyunji's brother asks if she's still calling and questions what if her predictions are wrong. Hyunji asks him to assume that the robe is standard wizard equipment, then adds that if his main attack is Fireball, it's a different story. The phone shows that Hyunji is calling Zhu Yun, and the call finally connects. She jumps straight to the point after a quick greeting, saying that Zhu Yun is the wizard who helped during the Kynal raid, and demands confirmation. Zhu Yun startles, but replies that he didn't even participate in the raid. Hyunji smiles and says she noticed the magic gear he's wearing looks similar to Zhu Yun's, which is why she tried contacting him, but he disappeared before she could speak with him. Zhu Yun insists he didn't even go near the raid location. Hyunji laughs out loud, asking if it's really Zhu Yun on the other side. Zhu Yun feels awkward and denies it again, saying he feels terrible because he was invited but couldn't join the raid, and apologizes. He adds that he can't answer calls right now because he's taking a shower. Zhu Yun says that since the call can't continue, he'll end it here, while Hyunji and her brother stare at the phone. Zhu Yun hopes she won't call back, but wonders who keeps blasting calls once a minute. Already annoyed from hearing strange accusations on the other side, he sighs. Then Ego reminds Zhu Yun that his world is about to be destroyed by invaders from other dimensions. She tells him not to worry, since he holds the special power of Skill Master. Ego explains that this power is a subordinate authority of reality-altering abilities granted solely to gods, a divine gift meant for Zhu Yun. Zhu Yun questions why he has such power and wonders aloud if he could somehow be divine himself. Then he thinks about how he has followed the military so honestly, and concludes that doesn't make sense. Ego comforts him, saying it's complicated but he shouldn't overthink. Memories of his past life flicker as she reminds him that he has done many things and received rewards for them. and now there is only one final choice left. When he asks what it is, Ego replies that the power he currently wields isn't the true strength of the divine shards. A hero, she explains, is someone burdened with the power to save the world, and that power can either remain dormant or blossom depending on his choice. Ju-yun stares in awe as Ego asks whether he will be satisfied just surviving and enjoying the weight of his power, or if he will choose to save the world and bear the burden of the power granted to him. She assures him that salvation is not necessarily the hero's duty. It's just one of the options he can choose, as always. Hyunji sits on the sofa with her tablet and says that according to her sharp intuition and genius analysis, Ju-yun definitely has psychopath tendencies. Her brother stares at her as Hyunji admits that she doesn't have any concrete proof yet. She adds that no matter how much she thinks about it, she has to meet Ju-yun face to face. Her brother asks why Hyunji is so obsessive over Ju-yun. Hyunji is silent for a moment, then replies that even S-rank hunters enter field zones where death can come unexpectedly at any moment. If she's going to die anyway, she wants to be the best in this field. And for that, Hyunji insists she needs someone exceptional, like a psychopath, in her party. Her brother places a hand on Hyunji's shoulder and tells her not to act so recklessly all the time if she really wants to be the best. Hyunji claps her hands together and declares that, based on all the information so far, she can make guesses about Ju-yun. She explains that he disappeared after causing a fuss on Sky Island without leaving a trace, which means he's probably someone extremely cautious about exposure. She estimates that his level hasn't gone beyond 40, so he'd likely choose a less crowded D-grade field. Since Ju-yun is avoiding their usual patrol range, he probably wouldn't pick a field in Seoul. She adds that Ju-yun seemed strongly desperate for money too. Judging by his appearance, he doesn't seem to own a car, so he'd likely move around using public transportation or on foot. If she narrows down the range accordingly, she expects Ju-yun will soon come out to hunt in a D-grade spider cave near the metropolitan area. Hyunji's brother calls her dumb, saying there's no way things will go this smoothly. Later, they actually find Ju-yun. He stands right in front of Hyunji, trying to explain himself. He says that he's not really hunting, and just came there to sell healing items. While her brother wonders if he's serious, Hyunji smiles and says she already knows everything, insisting there's no use pretending. She asks him to be honest. Ju-yun insists that he's just a regular healer, but Hyunji presses, asking if he's really going to keep this up. Ju-yun throws the question back at her, asking why she's acting like that toward him. Hyunji's brother watches awkwardly. He steps forward and says he'll give Ju-yun 500 an hour, forcing him to come along, deciding that wasting time trying to convince Hyunji to change her mind isn't worth it. He leaves Ju-yun no chance to argue. As they walk, Hyunji's brother reminds Ju-yun that they agreed he'd pay off his debt. Ju-yun is left with no choice but to agree to go. He doesn't really understand what light means, but decides to accept since they're offering 500. Hyunji says they should head straight to the field now, but Ju-yun asks her to wait. When she asks what's wrong, Ju-yun replies that he just wants to go to the bathroom. In the D-class field spider hole, Hyunji asks Ju-yun about the wizard who scampered off after helping with the Kinal raid and about the psychopath, insisting that both are him, and demands that he be honest about it. Ju-yun pretends he didn't hear anything and asks her to repeat what she just said. Hyunji gets annoyed but tells him that if he really is that person, she wants to repay him for helping out. Since Hyunji works in the same industry, she promises she'll keep his secret no matter what. Ju-yun says nothing but thinks to himself that, judging by what she's saying, it's almost certain that that scammer wizard really is a psychopath. Hyunji's brother throws an arm around Ju-yun's shoulder and reminds him about their agreement to pay him back. Ju-yun realizes it's pretty obvious now. There's no way around it. Later, as they walk, Ju-yun asks Hyunji not to tell anyone else. She replies that no wonder Ju-yun seemed to have more magic than her. He says it's all about gear bonuses. That gear is the key. Hyunji agrees, then asks if he's a wizard, what skill books he used for buffs or healing. Frustrated, Hyunji's brother interrupts, saying that this is a high-level D field with lots of monsters, and taunts them for not getting tired of messing around. Hyunji says she is tired, while Ju-yun simply replies, "Good job," and adds that since they've already earned their 500, he'll go ahead and clear the way. He brings out his flame sword, making Hyenji stand in awe as she realizes he's even a magic sword user. Zhu Yun explains that he couldn't afford a staff, so he bought this instead. Internally, he thinks that because of his magic power stat, it's better than nothing. He decides that since it's come to this, he might as well do a skill test to see what it can do. Zhu Yun's sword suddenly turns frosty, confusing Hyenji, who wonders why it looks like ice instead of fire. One advantage of being a skill master is being able to use all kinds of skills. After all, he activates Ice Spear, which can attack within a radius of 20 meters, and combines it with poison magic. Both companions stare in awe as the poisoned ice spear kills many spiders charging their way. Zhu Yun then activates another skill, Catalyst, which amplifies the effects of poison. If the enemy has more than 3 stacks, it transforms into critical poison. The effect covers all the spiders with a green, slime-like liquid. Zhu Yun thinks that ice magic isn't bad either, but if he uses Fireball outside, he's done for, so he should avoid using it for now. Hyenji questions whether he isn't a flame mage. Zhu Yun stays silent, thinking that Fireball's damage feels a bit lacking compared to other magic. Hyenji, meanwhile, wonders what exactly he is. Later, they all sit in a restaurant. Hyenji chats away. Zhu Yun sits awkwardly, thinking that he had planned to run off right after the hunt ended. Back in the field, Zhu Yun had killed the soul of the field boss, the queen spider, in one shot. The skill test was successful, and he was about to head home, but then Hyenji's system screen appeared, declaring that due to insufficient contribution, she could not obtain the soul of the field boss. She was furious that no soul dropped for her even though she had paid the 500. In the end, she contributed, but Zhu Yun ended up with the soul all to himself. That's why she decided to buy him a meal. And he had no choice but to agree. That's how they ended up here. And now Zhu Yun is thinking that he was practically in a party hunt after all. He decides to just relax and have a drink. As they drink, Hyenji suddenly slams her glass down on the table and points at Zhu Yun. She says she has a proposal that will shake him to his core. Zhu Yun thinks back on everything. How Hyenji and he used to be friends, how her older brother is involved now, and how messy everything has become. Zhu Yun reminds himself that in the field, monsters aren't the only danger. PvP with other players often breaks out too, just like at Kinal. Hyenji nods in agreement, saying that someday, once someone becomes strong enough, it all works out. But when it comes to hunting boss monsters, no one ever hunts them alone. Hyenji adds that even if they assume they are humans rather than monsters, the situation would be similar. The continues, saying there's no point in messing around, and that hunting alone is dangerous. She yaps on about dealing with a high-level field without a tank, without a proper schedule, and about managing taxes from item sales, calling it all a headache. Brushing all of that aside, Hyenji offers Zhu Yun a joint contract, saying she'll handle everything for him and asking him to just focus on hunting comfortably. Surprised, Zhu Yun asks if Hyenji will really sign a contract with him. She agrees and mentions that there aren't many reliable users in the industry, but Zhu Yun is strong, and he has a secret they both share. Zhu Yun stares at her as she continues, explaining that monsters leave behind items when they die, while people leave behind their names. If they become the best together, Zhu Yun's name will rise to the top with her help. Admitting that he hates being a side character more than dying, Hyenji holds the contract right in front of Zhu Yun's eyes and says if he signs it, he'll get a free office dell exclusively for users, with the world's most beautiful woman living next door. As she tells him all this, her brother stares at her awkwardly, realizing she's trying a little too hard. Zhu Yun smiles, saying that Hyenji probably already knows without him asking. When he begins to speak about the most beautiful woman, Hyenji cuts him off, declaring it's her. Zhu Yun forces a smile. He likes the conditions, calling them so good he can't refuse. Hyenji lights up, excited to have him sign the contract. She shouts in delight while her brother tells them to just sit and eat, calling it all embarrassing. Hyenji says the field schedule will prioritize Party A's requests, and that she'll handle everything for Zhu Yun's convenience outside of hunting, even his everyday life. Zhu Yun signs the contract, and Hyenji hands him a card, declaring he can buy whatever he needs with it, and she'll manage all the money he earns from field hunts. She adds that if he needs anything explained further, he can tell her anytime. Zhu Yun shakes his head, holding the card, and says that her explanation was perfectly clear. Later, when they hunt together, Ju-Yun admits that the contract is amazing. He enjoys hunting since it feels easier than when he's alone. More than that, Ju-Yun looks at Hyenji, thinking he's been avoiding it because of the situation but now admitting to himself that she's really pretty. He activates his catalyst skill and thinks that for a beauty like her to voluntarily become his manager, he doesn't envy even someone like Al. Ever since he got that skill, everything has been smooth sailing. Later in his room, his screen shows that the copied blood combat skill has reached SS grade. Another screen pops up, declaring that the grade of blood combat SS has increased. The last screen informs him that the copied blood combat is now at SS+. Ju-Yun stares at it, then shouts out in happiness, thrilled that he no longer has to look at Lee's face again. Ju-Yun decides it's time to test his ice spear. A memory of Hyenji calling him strong flashes through his mind, and he thinks that if he uses Fireball with Blood Combat EX, his attack will be insane. Ju-Yun steps outside, calling out for Hyenji. She asks what's going on, and Ju-Yun tells her to get ready to head into the field. Showing her his phone, where a Fireball tutorial is playing, he declares that he'll give her a proper ride on the bus. Maybe, he thinks, he's been too relaxed lately, becoming careless. Hyenji stands confidently as her brother, who's level 37, asks if they're really going to a C-rank field with just the three of them. Hyenji answers that they've wanted to check it out at least once. Ju-Yun steps ahead and explains that the recommended level for C-rank is between 31 to 40, so there's no problem, though he thinks to himself that Hyenji's brother is the one he's most worried about. Ju-Yun himself is only level 15. Hyenji's brother argues that's just the system's suggested level, and depending on the party and setup, the actual recommended level can vary widely. Ju-Yun cuts in again, saying he has a plan and that he'll sweep up all the EXP for Hyenji's brother. Ju-Yun thinks that with Combat EX there's nothing they can't do. At the C-rank field, the Unak Natural Recreation Forest, infamous for its mobile plant-type monsters, the group enters. Since it used to be a recreation forest, there are a lot of mutated trees, so it's usually essential to bring at least 2 AoE skill dealers. But today, things are different. Hyenji's brother stands in front with his shield in hand, while Hyenji and Ju-Yun stand right behind him. Ju-Yun uses his fireball to take down a monster, thinking that fire is the best against tree monsters. Hyenji stares while her brother holds his shield firm. As a system screen pops up, Ju-Yun thinks that even his trait is blessing today's festivities. He decides to copy only blood combat buffs to track the increasing numbers. Just in case, he copies a backup skill too. He also wants to test if he can copy blood combat EX with his body cam. And, finishing with style, he plans a flashy last hit skill. He gets a bonus as well, so now he can copy up to 5 skills in total. Hyenji looks at him with an awkward expression. Ju-Yun smiles weirdly, thinking he must look invisible right now, as if he should die. He thinks he might be way too cool today, while both of his companions quietly realize why people call Ju-Yun a psychopath. Ju-Yun unleashes his fireball when, elsewhere, a man with glasses watches him through a laptop feed. The man says the target location is confirmed, that the skills and appearance match him. Suddenly, a dagger flies and smashes through the laptop. A voice says that barely any time has passed, and Ju-Yun has already shown up. The blonde-haired man, leader of the masked team, smirks and says that Ju-Yun has completely lost his sense of fear. Since Ju-Yun has come to die on his own, he'll grant his wish. Meanwhile, in the field, Ju-Yun keeps hunting monsters with Fireball. While picking up the crystals that appear after the monsters die, he realizes that his level is skyrocketing. Suddenly, Ju-Yun notices something near a monster. He grabs it, thinking it's some kind of item, but gets startled when it turns out to be a skeleton. Ju-Yun mutters that he let his guard down, thinking no one else was around, and wonders if he hit someone by mistake. Hyenji looks at the corpse and tells Ju-Yun to calm down, pointing out that a person doesn't get burned into a clean skeleton just from fire. Hyenji analyzes the skeleton further, noting that there's no way someone entered the field without armor or weapons. She concludes that it looks like the person was PK'd and had their items stolen. She decides to report this to the cleanup squad. Ju-Yun notices that Hyenji seems oddly calm. Hyenji replies that hunters often takes down other hunters. This happens way more often in the field than he'd think. After a moment of silence, Ju-Yun asks her if she's ever nearly been PK'd herself. Hyunji agrees, saying it was even by someone in her own party. She explains that while they were hunting, they suddenly tried to hit her from behind. With monsters, it's easier to tell enemies apart. They're always the opposition. But humans are different. You never know when they'll turn on you. Hyunji smiles, almost blushing, pointing at herself and claiming that it's because she's pretty. Ju-yeon is left speechless as Hyunji continues, saying that it wasn't just items they were after when they attacked her, and that it was her first time killing someone. Hyunji's brother listens quietly as she claps and, with a smile, says that they basically threw themselves at her asking to be killed. She adds that the after effects weren't as bad as she expected. Brushing it off, Hyunji warns them to be careful too, since there are a lot of crazier people out in the field. She points at her brother and tells Ju-yeon to hide behind him when things get dangerous, while her brother stares awkwardly. Thinking that he can't exactly reveal his average physical stat is only 35, Ju-yeon instead says that even if Kynal showed up now, he wouldn't die. A system screen shows his stats: Strength 27, Agility 29, Endurance 32, and Magic 34. Hyunji laughs, saying she'll at least give him points for confidence. Ju-yeon confirms that he's serious, when suddenly he notices something ball-like near his feet. A screen pops up declaring it's a pheromone bomb, capable of exploding in a radius of 10 meters, and listing further information. In no time, the blast erupts, smoke filling the area and blurring their vision. Ju-yeon quickly realizes it has triggered a monster wave. Hyunji's brother steps forward, telling both of them to stay behind him for now. But Ju-yeon doesn't listen. He runs ahead confidently with a smile, claiming he can handle this much on his own. As Ju-yeon charges forward, an arrow is fired. Someone announces that the target is confirmed. The arrow hits the back of his head and drops down. Ju-yeon stands there still smiling, thinking, "What an ambush, idiot." But as he reflects on his physical specs, he suddenly starts to feel something strange. A system screen flashes, Stun A effect does not apply. Another screen declares, Slow A effect applies for 3 minutes. A final screen shows, Pain A effect applies for 3 minutes. Ju-yeon collapses to his knees, trembling and roaring in pain. Elsewhere, the masked leader smiles darkly, declaring that it's hunting time. Hyunji runs to Ju-yeon, calling his name as he lies on the ground in pain. As soon as she reaches him, a monster jumps in with a roar to attack. She uses her fire spear, taking it down on the spot. Suddenly, a large number of monsters appears. Hyunji struggles, thinking that even normally these numbers would be overwhelming, and admits that she can't hold out while protecting the injured. The decision must be fast. In the next moment, Hyunji's brother clears a path as he asks for it, carrying Ju-yeon on his shoulder and holding his shield with the other hand. He pushes monsters away while Hyunji takes them down using her magic. Suddenly, Hyunji's brother notices one more smoke bomb, but she takes it down in no time with her magic. From afar, the leader watches it all and asks where they think they're going. The leader steps in with his team, mocking Hyunji and her brother for trying to run away scared without even fighting. Hyunji's brother asks who they are, and the leader replies that they are people who have business with Ju-yeon. The leader tells them to leave Ju-yeon behind, and he will let them live. Hyunji unleashes Fire Spear, but the leader handles it in a single instant, leaving Hyunji in awe. The leader points out that she was at the Kynal raid and whispers that Hyunji is a pretty clueless woman. Then the leader says that they will have to die too. He orders one of his companions to detonate a smoke bomb. The man throws it at Hyunji, and the smoke it creates attracts the countless monsters around, as the leader adds that they can't use pheromone smoke bombs indefinitely. The monsters surge toward them as the leader calls out for his men to hold on. Hyunji and her brother struggle to fight, while Ju-yeon still rests on Hyunji's brother's shoulder, aware that his body won't move as he wishes and that his skin feels like it's burning. Suddenly, Ju-yeon escapes from the shoulder, as Hyunji's brother notices. Surrounded by mist, Ju-yeon wonders how it ended up like this and whether he's going to die, cursing the situation. Suddenly, as her brother picks Ju-yeon up again, Ju-yeon notices all the monsters lying dead on the ground and stares in awe, remembering Hyunji's words about hiding behind her brother when it's dangerous. Hyunji checks on Ju-yeon, asking if he's conscious enough to get up and walk. Ju-yeon brings out his phone and says that it's shameless, but he has just one favor to ask of both of them. He asks them to keep what they're about to see a secret. At that moment, the leader steps in, saying Ju Yun is carrying on well even after being baggage. He adds that, as a prize, he'll send him off painlessly. Hyunji curses the leader as he continues, admitting he was wondering how long Ju Yun would stay down, but now he's up. He adds that since Ju Yun still hasn't come to his senses, it must hurt quite a bit. Ju Yun admits that it hurts like hell. The leader laughs, mocking him for making a fuss over that. Ju Yun snaps his fingers. The leader says he's always prepared for the fireball and raises a protection shield. Ju Yun asks as countless summoning circles form, leaving them all in awe and questioning whether his fireballs are really just fireballs. The realization hits that Ju Yun could be the one who took Al's ring. Ju Yun activates meteor rain on the enemies, and the leader protests that his own party will be affected, calling Ju Yun a crazy guy and wondering if he plans mutual destruction. The leader curses Ju Yun as he struggles, while Ju Yun activates Bloody Fury, the effect becoming overwhelmingly powerful when combined with the summoning circles. Hyunji and her brother are stunned to see that Ju Yun was able to defeat those guys with a single powerful spell. Exhausted, Ju Yun falls to the ground, saying that they survived. He thinks to himself that if it weren't for the teleport spell, he would have died. Then the scene shifts to later that day, and Ju Yun sits alone in his room, staring at his skills and wondering what he should set up first since he still has 4 slots available. He already copied Fireball and a combat skill earlier, meaning only 1 slot is left, and while checking other skill videos, Ju Yun realizes it's not that he lacks confidence in hunting, he just needs some kind of insurance in case things go bad. That's when he discovers a unique teleport trait, and the moment he reads the details, his eyes light up because this thing is basically mass transport. Even with all the bonus effects stacked on top, Ju Yun can barely believe his luck and starts wondering if today is actually his lucky day. The story then jumps back to the present, where Hyunji and her brother are still shocked by what they just witnessed, while Ju Yun tells them he'll explain everything later. Hyunji quickly says they should first collect the items dropped by the enemies, while nearby hunters can't stop talking about how insanely powerful Ju Yun's spell was. At the same time, Ju Yun quietly thinks to himself that even though he managed to save everyone, it's now only a matter of time before people figure out who he really is. Right then, a system window pops up announcing that he has reached level 20 and unlocked new subtraits. Later at Hyunji's house, Ju Yun finally explains that his master skill allows him to copy and use other people's abilities, leaving Hyunji completely stunned as she realizes that's how he was able to use healing, buffs, and even her own skills all at once. Ju Yun calmly confirms it's possible, and when Hyunji asks if he can copy her brother's tank skills too, Ju Yun says yes. Curious now, Hyunji asks how many skills he can actually copy, but Ju Yun smirks and says that part is a secret. Her brother then gets serious and asks if Ju Yun knows anything about the people who attacked them, and Ju Yun explains that they're probably connected to the same group from the Kinal raid. Hyunji suddenly says she has a bad feeling about who they are and reveals the name Raider Guild, an organization known for collecting boss-tier items. Ju Yun says he has even met them before, and Hyunji explains that they once tried recruiting both her and her brother by promising them boss items in exchange for joining. When Ju Yun asks what that has to do with the PK group, Hyunji reveals that among the loot recovered from the attackers were several boss-tier items, and since those drops are extremely rare, it's hard for random groups to gather so many unless they're backed by a huge organization. She explains that Raider Guild has branches all around the world, and nobody even knows who the real leader is. Hearing all this, Ju Yun starts getting nervous as Hyunji warns him to be careful because he just made enemies with a terrifying global group. Later that night, Ju Yun lies on his bed thinking about how many incidents he's already caused and how his identity could be exposed at any moment. He realizes he needs to become stronger before that happens, and the only reliable method right now is ranking up his skills. Thankfully, he has built up a good amount of SP from daily quests, and Ju Yun decides he needs a stable supply of points in case something happens that prevents him from completing future quests. He immediately starts using SP to raise his skill levels, smiling as he notices how much efficiency increases with every upgrade. Since he still has 1 copy storage slot left, Ju Yun decides to store resistance to change, and after reading the description, he realizes that once a copied skill is stored, He can use it infinitely from storage without limitations. Excited by the possibilities, Ju Yun decides he'll continue ranking up powerful skills like resistance to change, radiant power, and red combat through repeated copying. But before diving deeper into training, he plans to rest for a few days. But the very next moment, the story hits another huge twist as Ju Yun, Hyunji, and her brother suddenly find themselves meeting Al, the world-famous hero himself. Ju Yun is completely stunned, wondering why someone like Al is here. And Al casually explains that the rumors claiming Ju Yun was the mage from the Kinal battle have already been handled, so they won't spread further. Hyunji thanks him, but immediately asks the real reason he came. And Al calmly says she doesn't need to be so cautious because he only wanted to hear his friend's thoughts regarding the people who attacked them, especially since they belong to the global organization known as Raider Guild. Hyunji is shocked that even Al knows about them, but Al reveals that he is already secretly at war with Raider Guild, and because of that conflict, he has managed to obtain some very interesting intel. According to him, Raider Guild is currently gathering in secret at the Ganjium Resort ski field to search for a hidden treasure left behind by Raider's mysterious leader. Hyunji immediately asks why he's sharing something this important instead of handling it himself, and Al explains that while he can offer small hints like this, his every movement attracts too much attention for him to act directly. Right then, his secretary reminds him it's time for his next schedule, and before leaving, Al smiles and says that next time he hopes they can have a more relaxed conversation. He then tells Ju Yun and Hyunji that what they choose to do with this information is entirely up to them, whether they decide to hunt down their enemies together or focus on protecting themselves, and Al says he's looking forward to hearing their answer. The scene then shifts to the entrance of a dungeon, where countless members of the Raider Guild have gathered, creating a tense atmosphere from the very start. Moments later, Lin Xiaoling walks out of the dungeon after defeating the boss monster, and one of the guild members immediately steps forward to welcome her back. But before the guy can even finish speaking, Lin casually uses her spell and slams him straight into a wall, shocking everyone nearby. She coldly declares that the former guild master is dead, which means she is now the new leader of Raider Guild, and from this point on, everyone better start calling her boss. The guild members nervously stare at the monster behind her and instantly realize it came from the 20th floor, proving just how terrifying Lin has become. She then asks about the old guild members, and one subordinate explains that nearly 98% of the people loyal to the previous generation have already been eliminated, while the remaining survivors will soon be dealt with as well. Hearing this, Lin calmly says that the former leader's hidden treasure in Korea should still be untouched, and they will retrieve it exactly as planned. Deep down, Lin believes the era where ordinary people made money is over, because now the world belongs to superpowered hunters, and the ones who control special zones and collect boss-tier items will rule everything. And in her mind, that throne already belongs to her. The story then shifts to Ju Yun, who is surprisingly excited because it's his first time visiting a ski resort, and he honestly can't stop admiring the amazing view around him. Hyunji quickly tells him to focus and finish the mission first so they can relax afterward, while her brother still thinks it's insane for only 3 people to come here alone. A few moments earlier, Hyunji had explained why they decided to move against Raider Guild first, revealing that she sold the boss-tier item dropped by their enemies under her own name while handling the cleanup. Her brother was completely shocked hearing that, and Hyunji realized this officially makes her a target too, just like Ju Yun. Her brother blames himself for lowering his guard and assuming everything would naturally work out, but back in the present, Hyunji tells him not to worry so much as the group keeps moving forward. Suddenly, guards stop them and warn them that the entire field is under Raider Guild's control, so they should leave immediately. Annoyed, Hyunji asks if they suddenly became the user association or something, because since when can a guild control an open field? One of the guards immediately pulls out his sword and arrogantly says this place belongs to them now. At that moment, Ju Yun quietly thinks to himself that he isn't some heroic savior, but if there's something he wants to protect, then he should protect it with his own hands. Meanwhile, the guards keep mocking Hyunji, but before her brother can step in, Ju Yun suddenly walks forward and activates his fire spell. The moment the flames appear, the guards instantly recognize the spell and their expressions completely change. Ju Yun calmly steps closer, and says that controlling things is something only people with power can do, and he would love to show them exactly what he's capable of. Even though the guards are clearly shaken, one of them still tries to argue that their guild arrived first, but before he can finish, Ju-yun strikes him with his fire magic and takes him down instantly. Furious now, Ju-yun warns them that if they ever stand in his way again, he'll teach them a lesson they'll never forget. Completely terrified, the guards quickly run away without saying another word. Hyunji then looks at Ju-yun with a surprised smile and says he somehow feels different today, adding that he looked genuinely angry for once. Ju-yun awkwardly smiles hearing that, while secretly thinking how weird it feels because this was the first time he ever threatened someone like that. Meanwhile, deeper inside the field, hunters are busy fighting monsters when a mysterious cloaked man suddenly appears, casually saying he's also here to hunt monsters. One of the hunters immediately tells him to leave because the area is under their guild's control, but the moment the man reveals his face, his subordinates instantly charge forward and brutally overpower the hunters who were arguing with them. The mysterious man then orders his team to split into two groups and eliminate anyone standing in their way because their true objective is to reach the deepest and highest point of the field, where they must locate a mysterious item known as the Thermitation Bracelet. Meanwhile, Ju-yun and Hyunji are relieved that they finally made it into the field, but Hyunji's brother quickly reminds them that they need to start planning their next move because Raider Guild heavily outnumbers them, meaning a preemptive strike is their only real option. He then points out the biggest problem. How are they even supposed to tell the difference between ordinary NG Guild hunters and Raider Guild members? Ju-yun calmly explains that Raider Guild's main objective is finding the hidden treasure, which means they won't waste time farming monsters for experience points like normal hunters. A few moments later, several hunters enter a dangerous monster zone, while Ju-yun's group watches from the top of a nearby cliff. Ju-yun comments that the mist skill Hyunji used to lure monsters is actually pretty useful, but her brother still warns him that they can't be certain those people belong to Raider Guild. Ju-yun then breaks down the situation, explaining that if hunters see a giant swarm of monsters and still choose not to run away, then there are only two possibilities. Either they're a fully prepared high-level party farming efficiently, or they have business important enough to risk their lives over. Hyunji studies their combat style and notices that every member of the party is using skills way above the recommended level for this field, while her brother realizes these hunters clearly aren't here for experience points, meaning they must be chasing something extremely valuable. With that in mind, Ju-yun decides to follow them. As they move deeper into the field, Hyunji quietly notices that Ju-yun feels completely different lately, almost like he has become another person compared to before. Eventually, the Raider Guild party arrives at a hidden cave, and Ju-yun's group secretly follows right behind them. At that moment, Ju-yun starts thinking to himself that the whole situation feels strange because he's about to ambush the same people who once tried to kill him, yet somehow he feels completely calm. Seeing him lost in thought, Hyunji asks if something is wrong, but Ju-yun simply says it's nothing and prepares his crossbow. Meanwhile, the Raider Guild members excitedly believe they're finally about to complete their mission, but before they can react, Ju-yun suddenly attacks with his crossbow and instantly takes down several members of the group. He used the Bow of Weakening, a powerful C-rank skill, catching them completely off guard. At the same time inside the cave, the remaining Raider Guild members finally discover the bracelet artifact they were searching for. They quickly contact the team outside for an update, but when nobody answers, they immediately realize their comrades have been attacked. Without wasting a second, they rush outside prepared to eliminate whoever ambushed their team and protect the artifact at all costs. The moment they emerge from the cave, Hyunji instantly fires a powerful flame spell at them, but to her surprise, one Raider Guild member blocks the attack completely using a shield skill. Before she can react, another Raider Guild mage launches a lightning spell directly toward her. Her brother tries to intercept the attack, but the impact is too strong. Seeing the tank taken down, one Raider Guild member quickly orders his teammates to eliminate the mages before their buff effects expire. As the enemies rush forward, Ju-yun immediately activates Radiant Power and stacks multiple buffs onto himself, massively increasing his stats in an instant. Then, with perfect timing, he launches a devastating fireball straight into the enemy group, and the strike takes down most of the Raider Guild members with a single attack. Standing confidently in front of the survivors, Ju Yun declares that he'll be taking the treasure for himself. But just when victory seems guaranteed, the last remaining Raider Guild member desperately casts a flare spell into the sky, sending a signal for reinforcements. In another part of the field, the captain of the second Raider Guild team notices the flare immediately and orders his entire squad to move out at once. On the other hand, Ju Yun, Hyunji, and her brother quickly gather the rewards after the battle, and Ju Yun is honestly shocked when he realizes they managed to secure every single boss item. Hyunji jokingly complains that the number of dangerous items she has to manage is getting out of hand, especially since she wants to avoid revealing her location to Raider Guild at all costs. Meanwhile, her brother discovers an incredibly expensive shield among the loot and says he can use it himself, meaning they won't need to sell that one. Right after that, Hyunji hands Ju Yun the mimicry bracelet, an SS rank item, leaving him completely stunned as he asks if she's seriously giving him something that valuable. Hyunji casually replies that she doesn't really have many items worth mimicking anyway, and if anyone should use an SS rank item, it should be the ace of their party. Touched by her trust, Ju Yun sincerely thanks her. Hyunji's brother then tells them they should leave immediately before the second Raider Guild team arrives. But just before heading out, Ju Yun notices the enemy's body cameras and decides to destroy all of them so nobody can analyze the battle footage later. The scene then shifts back to Raider Guild headquarters, where Lin Xiaoling receives the news that the bracelet of mimicry has been stolen. Furious, Lin slams her hand down in frustration and says she deployed combat units strong enough to defeat field bosses, yet they still failed to protect the artifact. Nervously, the subordinate explains that the group defending against the monster wave survived, but the advanced squad sent to retrieve the treasure was completely wiped out. They also discovered from the surviving body cam footage that someone intentionally used missed skills to trigger the monster wave. When Lin asks about the body cams from the defeated team, the subordinate reveals they were destroyed. Hearing this, Lin immediately realizes their enemies are experienced fighters who deliberately used skills and items to divide Raider Guild's forces while also erasing evidence to prevent battle analysis. The more she thinks about it, the more convinced she becomes that someone extremely skilled is behind everything. Angered, Lin declares that this has to be AL's doing and orders her people to investigate immediately, retrieve the bracelet, and deal with Al as well. Meanwhile, Hyunji tells her brother she has decided to hold onto the boss items for now instead of selling them. Ju Yun points out that the money could help them upgrade several pieces of armor, but Hyunji explains it's mainly to avoid being tracked by Raider Guild. Ju Yun finally understands that she deliberately let Raider Guild learn her name in order to stop suspicion from falling entirely on him, but she doesn't want things escalating any further than that. Still, Hyunji assures them she has no intention of quitting hunting, so nobody needs to worry about her. A moment later, Hyunji asks Ju Yun if he's currently level 20, and after he confirms it, they begin discussing field level limits. According to the system rules, once Ju Yun exceeds the obtainable level range for lower grade fields, he won't be able to receive rewards from them anymore. Hyunji then asks how many F-grade field boss items Ju Yun has collected so far, and Ju Yun starts listing them off, including the D-grade Spider Queen and Lizard King, the E-grade Mountain Python, and the F-grade Black Bear, Crane, and One-Eyed Crow, while noting that Kynal doesn't count because it was a special field. After counting everything, they realize he's still missing one more F-grade boss item. Hyunji immediately points out that once Ju Yun surpasses the obtainable level cap, there's no going back, so they need to hurry and collect as many boss items as possible right now. Because of that, Ju Yun's new plan is to quietly raid bosses in unpopular fields so they can avoid attracting attention, and since they've already come this far, they might as well collect every E-grade boss item too. The story then jumps to another field where Ju Yun is fighting the boss monster known as the Sand Giant. Without much difficulty, Ju Yun completely overwhelms the boss, defeats it with ease, and collects the boss items while gaining another small boost to his stats. Hyunji looks impressed and asks how long that fight even took, and Ju Yun casually answers that it was exactly 5 minutes and 45 seconds. Hyunji immediately congratulates him on successfully obtaining full ownership of all E-grade boss items and says they should celebrate later. Meanwhile, Ju-yun secretly thinks to himself that the mimicry bracelet is doing way more than he expected. Hyunji probably assumes he simply copied the elemental ring's abilities using the bracelet, but Ju-yun realizes the item also grants direct stat increases for every copied option attached to it. Shocked by the results, Ju-yun notices that all his stats increased by 15 points each, and for the first time, he starts wondering if he might eventually become even stronger than Al himself. But just as they continue moving forward, a brand new quest suddenly appears before Ju-yun's eyes, ordering him to conquer an E-grade special field. Seeing his expression suddenly change, Hyunji asks if he unlocked another skill, and Ju-yun explains that he just received a quest with rewards massive enough to dramatically boost his specs if he clears it. The reward alone is nearly 1 million SP, but when Ju-yun checks the quest location, his face freezes in shock after realizing the special field is 3 hours away, and the temperature there is an insane -40 degrees. Hyunji then asks if they really need to clear the E-rank special field, but quickly shifts into strategy mode, wondering if Ju-yun even remembers all the E-rank boss information properly. She points out that even though Ju-yun has leveled up, he still lacks experience operating high-tier systems like airships, especially for overseas special fields, and getting entry permission without official recognition won't be easy either. She adds that only a very specific type of individual can get permission without going through a guild unit, but decides to put that issue aside for now. Then Hyunji moves straight into what she calls the next phase, Stage 2 of their spec-up plan. She notices that instead of combining complex skill rotations, Ju-yun usually just stacks buffs and blasts everything with Fireball. Ju-yun is surprised she noticed that, but Hyunji calmly explains that the real idea is to increase the number of S-rank or higher skills he can copy. Ju-yun counters that high-level users usually hide their abilities, and he didn't scroll through UserTube for nothing. Hyunji laughs and says not everyone is an attention seeker like Al. She then brings up how back when Ju-yun worked as a healer vendor, users used to literally sell buffs for money. But now she can't even think of anyone selling S-rank or higher buffs openly. That's when Ju-yun suddenly remembers Hyujo, the person who once gave him her contact, and he confidently says he actually knows someone who fits that description. Meanwhile, in a higher dimension, Ego speaks with her master, saying the hero has accepted the second main quest, and the master replies that the hero's memories must be slowly returning, meaning Earth is one step closer to salvation. But the deity quickly notices Ego's emotions drifting elsewhere and points out that she seems to be longing for something beyond the mission. Ego admits she wants to meet the hero who once saved her world and see him again, but the deity calmly reveals that the hero has lost all his past memories. Shocked, Ego questions if this is really the same hero she once knew, and the deity explains that her true form is currently maintaining the balance of dimensions, and the being speaking to her now is only a fragment. Ego quietly realizes her master is still a god-level existence, but the deity reminds her that the hero must never be forced into a path, no matter what, because everything must be decided by his own choices, a promise made between her and the world she created. She then tells Ego that whether she chooses to help the hero or not is entirely up to her. Back in the human world, Ju-yun calls Hyujo, and the next day the group waits for her arrival. Hyunji gets suspicious and asks why Ju-yun's so-called friend would travel all the way to Seoul Grand Park without even asking for travel expenses, saying it feels a bit off. Ju-yun confidently replies that it just proves how popular he is, but even Hyunji's brother finds the situation suspicious. Just then, Hyujo arrives and immediately hugs Ju-yun, happily saying it's been a while. Hyunji instantly gets jealous watching them, while Ju-yun and Hyujo start catching up. Hyunji steps forward and introduces herself properly, saying she has heard a lot about Hyujo from Ju-yun, while Hyujo calmly responds that she is an SS rank buffer. Hyunji quickly fires back that she and Ju-yun are actually even closer than that. But before things escalate, Ju-yun tries to explain and gets pushed aside by Hyunji in frustration as she takes control of the conversation. She immediately shifts the topic to buffs for their reinforcement plan, and Hyujo casually asks how much they need. Ju-yun steps in like a finance manager trying to organize everything, realizing this is turning into something far more complicated than he expected. Before long, Hyujo reveals her SS rank skill Heavenly Melody, which boosts all stats, along with another SS rank Blessing type buff skill, leaving the group stunned. Smiling in relief, Ju-yun thanks her, saying this is more than enough for their plan moving forward. The scene shifts to the E-grade special field known as Plague Land, where the temperature drops to a freezing -30 degrees, and the endless white terrain makes it nearly impossible to track the field boss, causing countless hunter teams to fail over time. Because of that, the nation eventually developed a special strategy, waiting for the final boss to naturally appear. Hyunji explains that in special fields like this, after a certain period, even normal monsters begin breaking out of the zone, and that's the moment the boss usually reveals itself, so all they need to do is wait patiently. Her brother agrees, saying repeated failures prove how dangerous this field is, and he strongly believes they shouldn't rush into a special field without proper preparation, no matter how important the quest is. He asks how they are even supposed to clear it under these conditions, while Ju-yun quietly keeps experimenting by copying whatever skills he can during the downtime. Hyunji notices and asks what he is doing, and Ju-yun explains that he is just testing skills since his copy cooldown reset, but the rank up still isn't triggering. At that moment, Hyunji's brother bluntly says that if they are going to proceed, at least the party leader needs to spec up properly, and right then Ju-yun suddenly shouts that he finally managed to copy a skill called Battle Master. Just then, Hyunji receives a call from Korea Guild, and she explains that the E-grade special field has now been opened to foreign participants, with a preference for wizards, and recruitment is actively ongoing. Hearing this, Ju-yun instantly realizes they are specifically calling for him as a healer-type mage. The scene then cuts to a large hall where Hyunji explains that this time the selected members are elite hunters who don't need ability tests, meaning there's no point in holding a traditional field meeting like before. Then Haesung steps forward and introduces himself as the leader of the expedition, announcing that the mission will begin in 10 days once survival supplies are fully prepared, and that all participants are top-tier hunters carefully selected from Sky Island. He confidently tells everyone to trust his judgment, bring out their best skills, and together they will conquer Plague Land. Ju-yun gets excited and starts to cheer, but Haesung immediately glares at him and demands a proper introduction phase. One by one, the hunters introduce themselves, starting with Haesung stating he is level 39 with an SS grade unique trait critical hit, followed by other elite members. During this, Ju-yun notices Haesung still watching him closely. Sang-wook introduces himself as an S-grade tanker, and Hyunji introduces herself as an S-rank flame sorcerer. When all eyes finally turn to Ju-yun, he casually releases a fireball and introduces himself in a bold tone, saying some might know him as Psychopath, an SS-grade wizard. Haesung visibly reacts with irritation hearing this. After the introductions, as everyone begins to leave, Haesung suddenly approaches Ju-yun and brings up the incident on Sky Island, accusing him of being the one who stole the boss item alongside the masked group. Ju-yun immediately defends himself, saying he was the wizard who contributed the most in that raid and that he was never part of the masked group in the first place. He explains that he simply encountered suspicious individuals handling Kinel's situation, couldn't stop the raid team, and joined only to secure a fair share of contribution rewards, but the masked group mistakenly assumed he was one of them. He also adds that if contribution is the issue, he clearly deserves the highest share, and if Haesung still has a problem with that, then he will simply not join the team. Internally, Ju-yun decides that if they want to work together, everything must be cleared up now, and if it fails, he will find another path. Haesung then states that during the Kinel battle, 2 guild members died, and he needed to confirm whether Ju-yun was part of the masked group or not. But since that is clarified, he has no objection to Ju-yun joining the expedition. As Haesung leaves, Hyunji excitedly tells Ju-yun that he looked really cool just now, while Sang-wook admits things went smoother than expected. Ju-yun tells them to move out, but Hyunji notices his expression and asks if something is bothering him. Ju-yun admits he is wondering whether he should have revealed his identity openly instead of hiding it. He had expected people to be shocked once they learned who he was, but instead everyone is acting surprisingly calm, while elsewhere some members still dismiss him as a liar. Meanwhile, in Raider Guild headquarters, Liao receives news that several guild members have also joined the expedition. Smirking coldly, she decides it is time to teach Ju Yun a lesson so he never interferes with them again, and orders her subordinates to investigate all movements within the team, preparing to eliminate any obstacle as soon as it appears.